stage and wanted to wag his finger because the nasty African couldn't say what he wanted to say. So that's when you came in the room. That was
you said
very stressful.
you said
Hey,
Lord
a
Jesus
hostile
Christ.
African and a non-hostile African.
hey, he that dude when you say stop yelling. I ain't yelling.
I ain't mad. Y'all niggas mad. What's wrong with
This
y'all?
I
nigga
ain't
bounce. I
mad.
wanted to
I ain't
ask him a
mad.
That was
question.
very
Shit.
vibrant. That was a vibrant conversation.
I was about to throw some biscuit crumbs at him, but I didn't want to waste my food, so I just let him go and do what he wanted to do.
Is
Oh,
he
he
like
left.
Charleston White or
He
something
left.
like that?
He kicked
What's
Is he
wrong
like
with
himself
y'all
out.
a
niggas?
guy
Y'all ain't
like?
voting Democrat? What's wrong with y'all?
Ah, God, you can't win with him, can you?
Man, he was making my blood pressure go up.
I would have
Jesus.
been kicked his
Hey,
ass out
He's
the space.
what
My
number
very.
is
patience is
this
very thin
guy?
for all that biscuit babbling.
I
I ain't
gotta
finna be
take
hearing
my
all that.
blood pressure. He
He
gave me a
ruled number
stroke.
33, 43, 82. He just was through. So he's a spinner. He was
He
spinning
the,
like a
he
motherfucker.
the type of nigga that if you a cop, you automatically got to pepper spray him just to tell him to be quiet. Like, man.
Are you sure he's Black American? Because our blood pressure
No,
gets high.
he's
Oh, he's not.
half
Yeah, because we get a high blood pressure. Us real Black Americans.
The nigga was
Panamanian.
about to do the Fred Sanford up here yelling like that. Calm
Oh,
down, man.
Does his Panama family accept him? Does his Panama family accept him? I get the feeling that they don't.
Man, they banished that nigga with some Goya powder and say, don't come back until you learn something.
Hey, Tariq said he's not really from Panama. Or he'll say he talked to his
Where is he
brother.
from?
I don't know. He said he's some nigga named like Tommy Johnson or something.
Oh
He
Lord.
said he talked to
is
his
he like
brother.
Charleston White?
Got my
No,
damn
Charleston
last
The
name.
White's a
Shit.
character?
character.
Yeah, is he like that?
No, Charleston White's a character. That's not really him.
That's a
Yeah, I
He
know
cockeyed
that really
ass
Charleston White's a
nigga.
Tommy.
character. What I'm asking is Tommy a character? Is he a
Nah,
character too?
that's truly
No,
him.
that's really him. That's really him.
Oh shit.
That's what I was
I
That's
trying
that
give
to
it up
tell
to
nigga.
you.
Charleston White. He really do shit for the
Screaming like
city.
that?
That's
He's
that
not a
nigga with them
character.
ashy ass cocaine residue kneecaps. Yes, that's him.
Oh, I thought he was trying to entice an emotion or something by acting like that.
No, Whining gave him PTSD from like high school when the girl didn't want to date him, and so that just
Oh
Why
came
no,
out.
won't you
don't do
date
that.
me?
He's got a farm animal penis, according to y'all.
No,
I
you
ain't
know he
looking at
loved
that.
to
You
talk
know them,
about
I
that.
I
you know them Joe Biden crack pipes. They hit different than the regular ones, so clear it out here.
Don't get me involved.
Concrete, concrete. Never know what you mean till you're walking down the street.
Oh, we singing
yeah,
some?
y'all stupid.
Wait, Tommy got kicked
And
out.
So
He
I
got put
so
in
still got it,
timeout.
Red. I
so
still got it.
Nah, he had to go.
Tommy, he what happened?
so Tommy Sotomayor been streaming this the whole time for content.
Yeah, I know.
He had to go to the nearest
I
trash
didn't know
can to get
that.
his next meal, so
Oh,
he had to leave
Yeah,
why
for a
that's
would
what
while.
I'm
he do
trying to
nobody?
figure. Wait a
every
minute,
time he
y'all.
come in
Wait,
I
this
was
room, he
warned.
do that.
wait, y'all. Do anybody know his channel that he streams this to?
Nope,
Nope.
Is
I
this
not
don't.
interested
YouTube?
in him.
Because it looks. No, it's just. I just want to know.
I know he
You have
live
to
on
find
X,
out.
Somebody back channel me if they know.
but
Somebody back channel me if they know his channel.
that's what I told y'all last time. Like every time he come in the room, that's what he do. He go live.
Oh, so he's
Yeah,
putting
I
on a
was.
show.
I was warned. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a notification he went live too, like an hour ago.
Y'all better than me, cause
I
I
just
would
looked
have
at it
been
right now.
kicked his ass out my space. I already had his
But
ass blocked, so he's getting banished to the shadow realm every time. It's just like that other dude on Tyreek Spaces. You ain't gonna even get 5 seconds to talk. I'm kicking your ass back down where you belong. Go eat that trash out the dumpster, nigga. Don't say nothing to me.
he didn't say anything like that could help
Hey, remember that gay dude from Africa that called the spaces and talked about Tariq's nephew? That was kind of fucked up. But when he first called, Tariq was like, "Are you moist?" And he was like, "What does that mean?" Tariq played that disco music. Remember that?
Oh yeah, played the Sylvester
That
music.
shit is hilarious.
Yeah,
He
man,
played disco
I
music.
was squatting. Yeah, I was back. I almost dropped the bar on my ass, man, laughing at that. Don't ever listen to Tariq when you were lifting weights. I'm telling you, don't ever do it.
Yeah, that's rough.
Oh yeah, you gonna hurt yourself.
I have definitely pulled a stomach muscle
This shit is
sometimes.
crazy. We done dealt with niggas that got crickets in they mud huts,
It's
crispy niggas
rough.
with cocaine residue kneecaps,
Yep.
looking real moist and bad. We done dealt with a lot of people in this space. I wish this was recorded. I hope this be on Nikki the guy's channel because I'm gonna play this back and just have a laugh, man.
No, the
Wait a
crickets
minute.
was crazy. Those crickets was loud as I don't know. I'm like, damn.
I know.
So Tommy came in because he saw the other two guys getting well not getting but so he
He
thought
was
that he could throw
protecting
his
some tethers.
so he thought he could throw his hat into
He
the ring
came
and
in
try and
earlier. I
take his
seen him. I
turn.
was like, yeah, he gonna come his ass back up here. He smelt them butter biscuits.
He needed some content. His shit been dry lately. That's all he wanted.
Ah,
That's why
yeah,
I
that's what
told.
it felt
Soon
like.
as I seen him in the room, I told him don't come in there and troll it, cause I seen him go live right before.
I don't know, man. And
Just had acknowledged
I was
them,
gonna cash up him a couple of pennies, man, to help him out, man. You know it's rough out here, man.
cause
Yeah, that was
he
weird
said
when he
this the
started
last
talking
time
about
he
his.
came in. He doing this for content, so y'all shouldn't bash him about it. And I, I,
I
I'm
thought he
trying
had
to
all
get
the
That's
content he
on.
why I was
needed in his
asking, is he
underwear.
like Charleston White? That's why I was asking, is
Showing
he
his
like
bare
Charleston
naked
Now,
White?
tail. That's
cause
crazy.
You know
Charles the
me.
White,
I
like
don't know
he
y'all.
from my city. Charles
One
the
people
White
from your
I
actually
know
family,
was
you
where
ain't
working
gonna know
you.
me
within
to
the
know
city.
you.
Okay.
He just do this for the internet to piss niggas off. But Charles the White actually like he helped the kids. He got programs and everything.
Right. That's the only reason why I thought that it was kind of the same. I felt like he was putting on a show.
Nah, that
Come to
nigga's
find out he
crazy.
was.
But the other dude, he just lost, so I don't know.
Nah, this is livelihood. He has to do this.
Oh, for his fans. He probably got white
I
fans
need that
too.
money, Jake.
The Japanese, nigga, hey
He was
man,
so yeah,
That
hey
was
man,
very
he was talking to his
strange.
fans. He was
I
talking to his
still don't
fans.
get that.
Japanese
Them
pizza.
goddamn South Koreans.
What was that all
Yeah,
about?
he was Pearl
redirecting
Harbor.
this,
I'm
They
like,
changing the
what?
focused.
conversation. I'm like,
What's
this dude.
going on? That's why I kept asking, Professor, what number is this fool? He trying to play.
He's something. I don't know his real last name.
He's a
Hey,
spinner.
Professor, that's a teaching moment for you.
Oh yeah.
Yes. It's like, Wani, how your guys doing? Wani, you handle him very
Hey,
well. You handle him very well.
Yeah,
And,
go Wani. I let her have the con. I
and
got his
Nikki the
ass and I
God,
was like,
when you started questioning him, he started getting upset. He didn't
was
like how
he
you was
upset
Yeah, I
or
questioning him.
noticed that.
was that his regular
I'm telling you,
attitude?
they like to get mad when the women be roasting them. They be getting real mad.
they can't handle it.
I
Come on
wasn't
now.
even
He's an
roasting him.
incel.
I was trying to like communicate because I get that people feel like you of all people, I had a white liberal woman to say that. You of all people should not be against immigration. Like we took you niggers in, so you should let us take all what? How are we taken in?
Wani, he was moving back and forth. He
He
was
doesn't know what
going
he's
all
talking
over
about.
the place.
Hey Carrie, what's on your
Yes, he
mind?
was.
We're gonna go to Carrie and Path and
He's
Justice.
Carrie. Hey, Carrie.
he said, hey guys, he said Jews a lot. So I think what he was doing was he was telling us that the Jews are pissed at us and that we don't have the power to tell anybody nothing, and they're pissed, and we shouldn't be mean to
What
Africans and
Jews?
stuff like that.
You mean his little
That's a good
Well,
friends?
he
point,
just kept
Carrie.
mentioning Jews overly much,
Okay.
So I think they sent him in here to tell us off, try and get us into a struggle
Wow.
session,
Tough nuts.
which we're not
It's
doing.
happening anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Jews don't have any power to do anything. They're committing a genocide. Stream that.
I think it's because of the last couple of celebrity slip ups talking about Jews. So they at edge right now. Don't know how they want to defend them, and then niggas don't want to fuck with them. So they in a
Mm-mm.
bad spot. They looking like the
Really.
1920s when uh that Leo dude got lynched in Georgia, and they had to make the ADL.
Yeah, they're losing their influence. I know they still have some, but they don't have that power to just run around and say everything's anti-Semitic anymore.
All right, y'all. I
Yeah.
gotta go to sleep. I gotta go spray my trash can. I gotta make sure no raccoons around it to be eating my trash. But I'm gonna
Uh-oh.
see y'all later.
Good
Yeah,
night.
Listen for the crickets.
oh shit. This
I
space was
will.
epic. This shit was epic. We were going off on them Africans early.
I think he was a plant professor.
Mm-hmm.
Who?
That
Which
guy.
one?
What's his name?
You talking about
Little Timmy.
Tommy?
Yeah,
I'm fucking with you.
Of course, he's a system. He's a system guy. He used me, and I used him.
absolutely. As soon as he came in there, he attacked Nasheed about Nasheed was making fun about how Africans eat the monkey meat. He said that right off the
Mm.
muscle.
Why is he mad about it?
It's
Because
called
remember the
it's
American thing?
called
He was
Captain Save a Nigga.
Mm-hmm. So
They thought it was funny denying us delineation, but they should have let us delineate, you know?
all of this
Right on.
started when we claimed our lineage, which we shouldn't have to claim. It's our lineage. We mentioned it, and everybody went ape shit crazy. Literally.
Yanni, I came in when that guy was calling you names. I didn't like it. The African
Mm,
guy.
don't worry.
They
He
so
was,
quick to attack the
me
system.
either. I
that's
want to
fine.
You know,
snatch him
them are
through the phone,
cowards.
through this computer.
He's
Oh,
just
don't
trying to
worry about
trigger,
it.
you know?
We go
I
back
think
and forth. We call each other names.
I think they
Yeah,
mentioned
yours was a
Tyreek's
little
name just to
subtle.
kind of
He was direct to the
get.
point, but he had that on his heart for a long time. That be on his heart when he say stuff like that.
I think they mentioned
Thank you.
Tyreek's name to
So
kind
it's
of
different.
to get stuff started. You know, like he say,
Hmm.
she say, and then this gets repeated back into another space. That's just kind of how you instigate stuff between a group, and that's how you get them infighting and stuff like that.
I know before Tommy came on, Professor, you was heading somewhere, and he just came right in. He messed the whole flow up.
Well, explain. What do you mean by he messed the whole flow up?
Well, you was touching on something, and he just came in and just started babbling in his mouth. But I guess you welcome him. It's okay. This is your show.
Yeah, well, I've dealt with him before, and I kicked his ass off last time. I was surprised to see
Oh,
him because
okay.
I kicked him off early when he started talking about his Johnson and shit, and I was like, oh hell no. I
Yeah,
said some of my
little
students
Peter
might be watching.
Wecker. Let's
Yeah.
say, man, I go to a family
I
reunion.
said my students might be watching this shit, and I kicked him off. And Nick and them was like, "Hey man, keep him on because the ratings went up," which was
Yeah,
true.
black men don't
And when
talk
he
like
came
that.
on,
He was talking about
It
family
only
Tell you
went
reunions,
up
something.
Professor. I said
100
his grandma gonna
points.
kiss me and say, "Come here, baby." Hey, man, I
Black
really gonna
men,
get
when
on.
he,
black American men do not talk about their privacy. So
Mhm.
he's not all the way black.
we don't talk about our privacy to a room.
Yes.
We might talk to a chick,
Yeah,
but
he was openly talking
anyway.
about that like that's
And then
cool.
trying to talking about the money you make, bro. The money, you're still lame. I don't even know, dude. But the bragging and the boastery is just crazy.
Yeah, I
That makes
don't
sense.
know him. I just saw like the tweets that he makes. I'm not aware of him like that, but I was made aware of the tweets that he makes. He makes a lot of anti-black woman tweets, which is funny because if you don't like black women, don't make tweets about them.
He a poo butt. Somebody broke his heart when he was in high school or something. So he got
He got hurt so bad.
got a chip on his shoulder.
Absolutely. He don't like
Well,
black. He don't like the black woman.
this is just a very strange situation because I get it. When I used to see people with the flag, I was like, "Oh, these people are coons," and they're and they're. I had the same thing. Um, I didn't. I would have never flown an American flag. Literally, when I would see a flag, I would feel kind of
Oh,
triggered, or I don't know the word, I'd feel upset, kind of Like, what are they doing? Why are they wagging that in my face? Why are they flying that in my face? But no, I feel different now because part of the reason that I feel different is when I see the connection of our ancestors, Frederick Douglass and others, when I see their Americanness that I was deprived of knowing about. You see, I didn't have all those quotes that I have now. I heard about Frederick Douglass, but I didn't know their feelings about being American. And I was taught by Pan Africanists that we're not supposed to like Americans. I said, wait, that's not logical. When I came into this lineage discussion, I said it's not logical that foreigners are coming over here crawling on their knees to take the oath to the United States of America. And we're being told by those same foreigners and by Pan-Africans who embrace foreigners that we're not allowed to like America. So I just felt like they're doing something, some kind of CIA operative move against us. And yes, there's been
Right.
four instances that I know of where the CIA was behind a Pan-African group. And our ancestors kicked Marcus Garvey out of here because they didn't like what he was doing. They didn't have a CIA then, but they do have a CIA now, and they keep being busted working with these Pan African groups. And, it benefits Africans for us to feel like we don't belong. It benefits white supremacists to feel like we don't belong. And we've always belonged. We've always been the most patriotic people in the bunch. There's no one more patriotic than Black Americans. We fought in every war. And these other people, these Ellis Islanders can't say that. Native Americans can't say that. They weren't reliable. They were on both sides, scalping people in between, fighting on
Straddling
whatever
the
sides.
fence.
They were doing everything. And so they're not reliable. And they did not want America to exist. We are the only group that wanted America to exist and fought for it to exist.
And they treat us like we the worst persons in the world.
That's right. They keep breaking their promises that they made after each of these wars. Oh, it's going to be better. Oh, we're going to do this. Oh, uh, you know, Field Order 15, we're going to get you right. Just help us with this and that. Yeah, that's what they do. They break treaties, they break promises. They did that with Native Americans. And that's why they're constantly in Congress trying to talk about, previous treaties that were broken and things that they were not given that they were promised back in the day. Yep, back in the 1800s. That time frame we're not allowed to talk about.
Wani and Nikki, I want to give y'all a little praise before we move on to Path of Justice. Man, y'all really held it down. I wanted to sit back and kind of be mediator. And yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, you
Thank
I
handled
had
it
to
down
you.
really,
well.
Hey, can I say something?
I have a history with Tommy, and my natural instincts with Tommy tells me to get the fuck out so I had to kind of stand back and calm down. Path to Justice, educate us, man.
Okay,
All right, my
family.
bad, my
Hope you
bad.
can
I
hear
couldn't
me.
hear y'all. Let me just say one thing, and I'm out. So how
Okay,
y'all
what is
so
it?
why
Uh,
y'all so mad at Africans?
who's going? Is it me or
Hold
is it just
on,
you
hold on, hold
talking?
on, hold on.
Why y'all
Hold
so
on,
mad at
Pastor.
Africans?
Why are
Hold
Africans
on, who is
so
this?
mad at Black
This is
Americans? Is the question.
22 Huncho.
Had the juice
Where are you
D.
from? New York?
I'm from
Hold on, hold
Philly,
on. I got this.
but my parents
I
but
got the
my parents
con.
from
I
the
got the con.
islands and from Africa
Oh,
too.
okay, we don't like you then. Goodbye.
But if
Hold on, hold
I'm
on.
if
I got the
if
con. I got
I'm
the con
born
here.
from Philly, how you don't like
Hold on, Hunter. Hold on. Be quiet. Be quiet for a second. I gotta find
how
out
you
some
like a group of
information.
people that literally sold you
Um.
into slavery? They raped you in slavery. They
So,
did all
what I
this
want to
shit,
know,
but
Say, man, shut up, man.
y'all are
Huncho,
goofies.
check
Y'all
this
are
out. You might
goofies.
want to
Y'all are
come.
goofies.
You might want to come to my show again.
Y'all
I'm
are
about to
goofy.
block
Y'all are
you, so I'm
goofy.
asking you to be
Y'all are like
quiet.
the group of people that fucking raped y'all and did all this shit.
Wait
And
a
you
minute.
are blocked.
You just, that's
He's
Africans.
blocked.
Africans raped everybody before they threw them on slave ships. So what are you talking about?
He's
Why
been
does he
blocked and
feel
removed.
that this
So
is another thing that people with small brains do? They feel like if you don't like Africans and you like white supremacists, no, we can have multiple people we don't like or care for.
they're the same fucking
Right.
thing. They work together.
We can have multiple people that we're leery of, and we're leery of a lot of people until they prove themselves
They are
worthy.
in. They work in tandem. But that's our position. That's the power we have. Is we're letting people know. I'm realizing that people don't know that they work in tandem. The African elite, power elite, work tandem with the white supremacists. I saw that shit well good, way good in Accra. I was like, oh, okay. Y'all got the BMWs, you got the Gucci suits, and the white people walk around with the little mixed children, and oh, okay, okay. And then the rest of us is just, we the help. That's what that is. Gotcha. Path of Justice, I'm sorry that ignorant fucking imbecile with the do-rag on took your space. What were you gonna say?
Okay, fam. I hope you can hear me just
Yes.
fine. Again, thank y'all for all your contributions, Nikki, Wani, and Professor A. Definitely on top of the list. EJ putting it down, and y'all going in on these really tethers, and they know they are. Really appreciate your work, and Wani definitely. I kind of back in that conversation, but she definitely handled what's his name pretty well. I forget what Tommy Sotomayor, whatever his name is. And what's funny about him is that's what I was thinking. Professor A brought that up is that this dude ain't really been in this space since the last time he made such a gay statement that y'all had to give him a moment of pause. And I remember from the Tariq Nasheed, Tommy Sotomayor days, there was all these conversations about the dude being gay. But then in that last conversation, he brought up the most gay statement ever out of the blue. Like it was not,
Yeah, he
it was
started
so
talk. He
bad.
started talk. He started talking to me about his private parts.
I was like, that was super gay. And then everybody just literally paused. Didn't even say pause, literally paused.
Hey
It was so
yo,
gay.
you're like what?
So he ain't been in the conversation for about a month. I think he was that embarrassed from that conversation to point. He just ran away. But yeah, I think y'all are actually doing a great job of steering the conversation where we don't even have to have a conversation with these people. Y'all talked about it for the academic reason, i.e., at CARICOM and all these other African and or Caribbean organizations. They don't have any place for us to even have representatives. So by logic, if we can't speak at your functions, then you can't speak in our culture. That's just the logical conclusion from that. But even more so, it's clear that they don't represent us, and they do have a tether culture there too. So I like that we're changing the conversation where they don't really have a legitimate place to speak about anything. And they really tethered on the Pan Africanism because when again, I bring up this point when you talk about legitimate Pan Africanism, you actually have to do stuff for other people, and they don't do shit for us. I mean, that's just cold reality of it. They don't offer us any land. Some of us are getting scammed out there. Y'all talk about it in Ghana and everywhere else, and talking about real opportunities, man. They don't create any opportunities for us, so they don't practice Pan Africanism. You can't practice Pan Africanism when all you're doing is tethering onto another culture. So that's just again logic. But again, I just wanted to chime in on that. I really appreciate the conversation. I think one more thing I would add is the Professor A again, I mentioned this last time I talked up here, but that was his phrase of the cuckoo bird. Again, the cuckoo birds putting their egg in the nest and then kicking out the egg of whomever they put in the nest in. We need to talk about that. And I think even add that to the lexicon of Black America. Just call these other groups cuckoos because that's really what they do to ethnocide our people. And I think our people being people with Aboriginal roots, we relate to uh, talking about how things react in nature and how they exist in excellent animals. And these people are acting cuckoo and really crazy as hell, but they're trying to kill our people by putting in their issues and kicking out putting in their issues and kicking out ours. And we see this consistently. I mean, y'all talked to all the Africans on the group, and then that last, I guess, Caribbean dude he just called up, pretty much the same shit, talking about why are we doing this to that and why are we doing that? Got nothing to do with our agenda. So why are you even bringing it into this space when we're clearly talking about what we need to do to uplift our people And that has nothing to do with y'all because y'all don't actually practice genuine Pan Africanism in Caribbean or in Africa. And I guess the last point would be again about the money. That's what they're really scared of, not just about getting deported, but they're scared about losing access to minority funds. If we as Black Americans say, hey, you know what? This 14th Amendment was for us. It wasn't for all these other quote unquote fake ass minority groups. It was for us. So kick them out, give all that away, give all that money to us. That would infuse more money. I think we still need to argue for reparations, but that would probably infuse more money into our people short term than reparations. Like we don't think about that. How much of these minority grants go to these other groups? These are thousands, tens of thousands, millions of dollars. All these construction contracts that have to be pushed through minority groups. All these scholarships and all these funding. We're talking about billions, if not trillions, of dollars per year that go to all these quote unquote minority groups. But we, as Black Americans, foundational Black Americans, get excluded from them. Those Africans and Caribbeans and Arabians, them Japanese, them white women, they see that money. They don't want that money to go anywhere towards us or anywhere away from them. That's what the fear of this cause that we're getting from and these people being sent to our spaces. Tommy Sotomayor admire, he ain't got shit to do with these spaces, but he's popping in here. Why is that? Probably because he was sent. That Joiner guy on Tariq's space, sent in here also, probably by somebody because it really ain't got shit to do with him. Like this conversation has nothing to do with him, which goes to my last point, I guess, which is what Professor Black Truth and also the Black Authority saying we're gonna have to start meeting in real spaces because I think these conversations are making it clear that these people are being sent as ops to our spaces. So like even if we have some real solutions out there, do we really want to have that conversation on this space? Because we know we're being monitored. So anyway, I
Oh
just
yeah,
wanted to
oh
say
yeah.
all that. And anyway, thank y'all for your continued contributions.
Yeah, and thank you, sir. Keep that in mind. Be careful what you come out your mouth, even though you playing and stuff. Be careful because things can be used against you, and anything done on the internet is forever. So just be careful what you say. Be careful about this is a nonviolent space, but sometimes people play about hurting folks and stuff like that. Let's be careful about that. Weigh your words. Um, Moving right along. I think it was Black Truth, brother. Black Truth. And then we're gonna move on to um. Shit, I lost my train of thought. Okay, go ahead, Black Truth. Oh,
Thank you. I see
BG90. Uh-huh.
FBA World had his hand up. I don't want to skip anyone in line.
Oh, FBA World, I didn't see you, bro. I don't know where my glasses went. Go ahead, FBA World.
Oh man, so man, good evening, everybody, Professor again. So man, thank you for having such a wild space, man. This was crazy. So, so first off, I just want to tip my hat, so man, to Wani, so man, number one for how the way she's been handling these African tethers and Tommy Sotomayor. And the way that she was communicating, she was trying to have communication with him, and also yet at the same time, like ignore some annoying the fuck out of him. In the same time, was I thought that was like a masterclass of how to handle certain people with a different perspective. But I just want to come up here and say that um as far as us I mean some of the FBA's here, foundational Black Americans, not having power, some not having or exercising any power, from if you look at it from a certain lens, for certain people it may look that way, but but if you just look at the this election alone, that lets you know the type of power that we can wield. Um, so I don't. So that's a false narrative, and that's something we're going to keep on something moving. And it really kicked off when we finally started acknowledging our lineage here on this land. And you don't understand, for me personally, embracing my lineage like here to this land, and I can be pretty confident to say that once this had really kicked off, that the typical black person, something that motivated them to actually take a look into their own genealogy and start tracing their roots. And you don't know how powerful and uplifting that can be to one's, psyche and mental health. Just knowing your history and just knowing your own genealogy, that you're able, and to trace it back. That's very powerful in within itself. And lastly, I just want to close with, again, and Professor Nikki the God, Wani. Thank you for having these spaces. They're very educational. Sometimes they can be wild, but we're not at the point where we don't have to explain ourselves something to everybody. We don't care. We really don't care if any other group, some men don't like us. We really don't care because we really don't care. Um, a lot of groups envy us, which we already know. But hey, once you have the sauce, once you have the sauce that everybody wants, they envy it because they don't have the secret sauce like we do. They don't have it. That's just facts. And we are going to keep this momentum going, with this delineation. The concept of it, it was really something that Dr. Claude Anderson, has been kicking for over the last 40 years. And then it's finally, the seeds has been planted back then. I'm aware that there were other scholars, talking the same thing. So the seeds has been planted, and it just in the last few years it's finally starting to bear fruit, and everybody and other groups are crashing out, and I love it. So I land there.
I just wanted to say we have a lot of power, and he wouldn't be in here telling us we have no power if we actually didn't, because there would be no reason for him to come in and say that. Um, Unfortunately,
Exactly,
you
Wani.
know,
There you go.
he wouldn't even be in the room, period. We wouldn't be discussed by the Democrats or their shills, and they're very irate. And we do have power. We're just consolidating power. Many, many groups have been in our position in history. I don't want to name the one, but this reminds me of a group in history that had to consolidate power over years, and we're doing it at rapid speed, like we do everything. We create all those music genres, and everybody else is still playing their traditional music thousands of years later. So we do everything rapidly, and now that we have more clarity about our backgrounds, we don't have to live in a fantasy. We was kings. Well, maybe some of us were. We are related to that king over there, King Ramses III. Um, we had so many stories of our lineage, and most of them were true, but it's not all of us. All of us are not kings. Obviously, there's not that many kings. All of us are not a certain tribe, but we don't have to pretend anymore. We don't have to have Pan Africanists to make up backstories for us. We don't have to guess what our lineage is. We know what our lineage is. And now we're presenting that to people, and they're going to have to deal with it. White people are going to have to deal with it, which they don't want to do. We have to deal with their own lineage. Their own lineage is in question now. You see, we're bringing up a lot of painful things, and people don't like that. And it can't go back. It's like a genie in a bottle. It can't go back in. Toothpaste in the tube. It's out now. It's only going to blow up more. There's a lot of Black Americans do not know about this lineage thing, but the moment that they find out, they most of them say, yeah, I get it. That did happen to me. Yeah, those people aren't, they don't react the same way that I would expect them to react. They'll all immediately know, and that's what they're scared of. They don't want the message to get out. Fat Joe didn't want to mention FBA. He's scared because he knows that the moment we mention it and people see what's going on, they're going to fall right into this room or rooms like it and find out more about their lineage, their legendary lineage that nobody is going to stop.
The body of Osiris is coming together. You see, in the Memphite theology, which the Christianity was taken from. Sorry, guys. People don't want to hear that, but it's true. The story of the Christ, or the actually the Charis, the bringer of gifts, Heru, which turned into Jesus the Christ. I believe the story is true, actually. But in the story, Asar was defeated. He was actually betrayed by his brother Set. This story is y'all. Everybody in this room knows it because it's plagiarized over and over again. The Lion King is the story of the Memphite theology. Batman's the story of Memphite theology. But let's go to Lion King. In Lion King, Simba's dad was killed by Scar, the evil uncle. Well, that's the story of Asar. What was Simba's job? To come back and avenge his father? Well, that's the story of the Christ or the Charist. Asar had a brother that was a little odd, but he ignored his brother because he loved him. His brother was evil, and he ignored him. Stop right there. There's a lesson in that. Never fucking ignore evil. Address it. Well, when Asar got married to the love of his life, Aset, which the white man renamed Isis, um, Aset, after they got married, before he could make love to his wife, his brother Set, out of jealousy, killed him and cut his body into 13 pieces. Well, as the story goes, I said in mourning, put her found went far and wide to find pieces of her husband, her love, and put them together to give him a proper burial. The only piece she couldn't find was his penis, which is what the obelisk is about. It's the penis of Osiris. It has a different meaning. It's not perversion. It's a different meaning, but it means power and fertility. But anyway, she put him together mostly and buried him and mourned his death. And in the night, an angel came and made her pregnant. Sounds familiar, like Mary, right? And she gave birth to the hero, Heru, whose job was to avenge the death of his father. Well, let's stop right there. I don't want to keep going down the line. This is also what Star Wars is about. But anyway, the body of Osiris came together before something could be reborn. We are the body of Osiris, Black Americans. We have Egyptian lineage. We don't know who the hell we are, but we know we're special. And we're coming together, forming a critical mass. And groups all around us is starting to take notice. I'm proud of all of you. And I look forward to working with you in the future. Who was next?
I just
I think it was
say
BG 900.
I
What's up?
wanted to say something real quick.
Go ahead.
Tommy insulted our food, and I take exception to that. I would ask everybody in the room to, if you feel like it, write down your favorite soul food element, like just one element, cornbread, whatever it is. Just put it in the I'm just compiling a list. I have a list, but it's my list. Put your favorite food, because when I look at our food, or what I consider to be soul food, which generally thought to be soul food, there's absolutely nothing wrong with this cuisine. It's just some of the ingredients that people used a long time ago were fattening and are using now. But there's nothing wrong with greens. There's nothing wrong with gravy. There's nothing wrong with biscuits and cornbread. There's nothing
Hold on,
wrong.
I'm gonna be vulnerable, Wani, and say some shit that my grandmama used to cook. My mom and
What?
them used to cook that I eat tomorrow. It's nothing wrong with chitlins because if you put some Trappist hot sauce on the
Okay,
motherfuckers, it's
now we
bad.
about to fight. Now
Come
we
on
about to
now.
fight.
Yes,
Now we
sir.
about to fight. Now we about to fight. I don't have chitlins on here, but
Oh, don't you put your thumbs down at me,
I ain't
boy.
putting no chitlins on here. That's an immediate.
Hey, city
They'll
slicker.
start.
Hey, go get some.
They gonna get mad.
City boy.
Mashed potatoes. I mean, I'm vegan. I can put all kinds of butter alternatives, but fresh dairy butter. There's nothing wrong with a little bit of fresh dairy butter. Um, Beans. There's nothing wrong with beans. And some of these things are, some of them are fattening, but you don't have to have uh, a whole lot of, macaroni and cheese is special. We know it's noodly and cheesy and all that. When you look at our cuisine, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. People just like to say that to be insulting. There's no difference between this food and any other kind of cuisine, like Mexican food.
Carbohydrates.
And
Yeah.
yeah, as far as the carbohydrates, you have tons of carbohydrates in Italian food. And you're not up there screaming at Italians, calling them names. Like I said, the cuisine doesn't have anything to do with the way it's prepared. It has to do with seasonings. It has to do with pairings of food. The idea that you would put cornbread and greens together, um, that's what makes it a cuisine because everybody can have corn and everybody can have some sort of bread with corn, but nobody's talking about what Native American food tastes like. There's no Native American restaurant on your corner, I assure you. I've never seen that before in my life. So, whatever they did with corn, nobody was interested. We created a cuisine and people are jealous of it. They're mad and they want to say, oh, you guys are fat. Everybody's fat. There's something else going on. And I know what it is, but everybody's fat right now.
Wani, I don't know if you said this, but somebody said some shit that made sense to me that I knew on another level because I read
What?
studies years ago. We're taking all these goddamn medications,
Yeah, I'm the
petroleum
one
based.
who said that.
You said it, and we're pissing
Almost
them. We're drinking them.
almost every medication that we take causes hunger and therefore weight gain. Antidepressants, antihistamines, steroids, like what is it called? Prednisone.
Yep.
Um, Almost,
Opioids as well. It slows down your digestive
oh
tract.
yeah,
No doubt.
opioids, because when you take those,
For pain, no
you
doubt.
get hungry, and everything that tranquilizes you makes you hungry. All the drugs people take for insomnia to make them sleepy makes you hungry. So a boatload of drugs that people take on a regular basis makes you hungry and therefore makes you fat because you're hungrier than you would normally be. Um, a lot of reason that people, that's why people are like, wait a minute, I'm eating, my grandmother ate this much, and my the previous generation ate trashy food. You think people in the 50s and the 60s weren't eating food with crazy ingredients in them? But where did all those little Debbie cakes come from? Where did all those Twinkies come from? People were eating trash. McDonald's was around in the 50s. So it's not the trashy food, which I, don't want to eat, but it's a lot of things going on in the environment, which people don't acknowledge. A lot of these medications throw off your whole body chemistry. It throws it off. And you get hungry, your metabolism gets messed up, and you're being told, hey, you got to take this or else you'll be sick. You'll have this disorder. And yes, people have allergies and they have to take antihistamines, but they don't all make you hungry. Anyway, when I look at these foods, sweet potatoes, um, apple pies, or different kinds of fruit pies and cobblers, there's nothing wrong with these foods. And nothing. It's no different than any other world class cuisine. So people are just haters. And every one of these things could be made with healthy ingredients. The cuisine is the cuisine. The cuisine is a cuisine. You can make all of these foods, just like if I made Italian food, I'm going to make it with my ingredients. I'm not going to use some of the things that they might use in Italy. I'm not going to use those things. And I'm still going to be eating Italian food. So don't let anyone tell us that our two cuisines are trash just because America has a weight problem and they want to put that on the food and act like we're sitting up here eating biscuits and gravy and mashed potatoes all day. Because we're not. We don't even eat like that. We don't eat one type of food. We're American. You might eat pizza all week for whatever reasons. You might get on a hot dog binge. I don't know. You might want hamburgers all week. That we don't even eat one cuisine. That's where they're really insane. They're applying their little pin brain cultures onto us. We're Americans. We eat every cuisine. I've never been around Black Americans that just sit up there and eat the same thing every day. Never. But I've been around Caribbeans that do. Literally have rice and some kind of meat every day. The same thing. Rice and some different kind of meat and a little sauce.
Swordfish early in the
Not
morning.
the jerk. Not the jerk.
I've seen them do this, rice and some kind of protein, but it was mostly some kind of meat like chicken, beef, or something like this. We don't even eat like that. My mother made tacos, spaghetti, lasagna, a big soul food feast, mostly around the holidays because it's very time consuming to make all those, greens and stuff. We ate everything, everything. Until I stopped eating those things. Anyway, don't let anybody rag on anything that we've created here because it's all world class and they're just jealous of it. It just comes down to pure jealousy. You're going to come in the room, rag on our food, and pretend like we've attacked people that have literally attacked us publicly, in writing, in articles, in our politics. The gaslighting doesn't work anymore.
No, they played their hand too tough. I've talked to a family member about this when I was a child, and we talked about white supremacy back in Alabama in the early 2000s. It was very profound. She said that white supremacy could last a lot longer if they would. It would have lasted a lot longer if they wouldn't have ruled with such a heavy fist. Dr. Howard Zinn talks about this shit. Where is Dr. Zinn's book? He talks about this beautifully. He says that I'm gonna have to paraphrase it because again, my books get scattered around. Dr. Zen talks about basically, he said the access powers, they were too hard, heavy-handed. They were too hard. Like basically, the concept is if you have an hourglass with sand and it busts, and you grab that sand, what happens to the sand if you squeeze tightly? It goes out your hands faster. The best way to keep sand is to be cool. Let it a little go. Just let it go. And you can keep it a long time, maybe indefinitely. But white supremacy, the system of white supremacy, was too aggressive. They wouldn't have let us have the illusion of inclusion, wouldn't let us have that, wouldn't have that, wouldn't let us have that, wouldn't let us that. And then you know what happened? We said, fuck it, I don't want it. I don't need it. Well, what do you need? I need you, Black American. I need you, sister. I need you, brother. The body of Osiris slowly came back together. Black Truth, what's on your mind?
Salute, family. Professor
What's up, brother?
Allen, Sister Wani, Sister Nikki. You guys didn't tell me there would be a marathon today. Man, I woke I woke up earlier. I saw you guys were on with, I think it was brother the average black man. And then later on, I think it was like 4 I got on. You guys were on. You guys are still on tonight, man. You guys got to take a break.
We were on to no, we were on. No, check this shit out. We were on. We had a long space last night, a real good space, and then I took a nap and woke up to Tariq. I was like, "Oh shit!" Tariq jumped on that. That lasted. It was epic. Epic Tariq Nasheed show. Epic with that JW character. Then I got off that like at 5 o'clock in the morning. It lasted a while. And average was on. I was like, what shit? It was a continuation. Stayed on average. I had no clue average was gonna be going on until like 4 p.m. We got on average, and then average was like, oh, okay, my son's about to go to sleep. Professor, you got this. I was like, okay, Juan, you want to start early? Sure. We started. Yeah, but you know what? I fucking want to keep going. This is my winter break, dude. I'm off next week. Let's do this.
Yeah, it's been great. I've learned a lot, despite the crusty, dusty tethers who managed to make their way into the room. Yeah, I've learned a lot, most definitely. But I do want to ask, and I hope I'm not too off topic, since you, Professor Allen, and I know Sister Wani for a fact are more well traveled than I am. I'd like to ask, what is the worst food that you've tasted throughout all these countries? And
It's
that
him.
all
It's
there.
I got a picture. I got a picture of it in the jumbotron. It was in Africa. You're looking at it. The FooFoo. It's in the title. FooFoo was the worst shit, and it doesn't look that bad. But
Shit, come on, come on,
That's not
Sensei. Don't
dog, I
lie
thought
like
it was
that.
gonna be
That shit look
no
crazy.
that's
cap.
not even the worst to
No,
It
me.
was disgusting when I tried it.
no cap. I was at. We were at the beach. It was beautiful. Kind of romantic because the beach in Accra is it's beautiful in a way that's hard to explain. It's almost abandoned like looking. They're jagged rocks and it's just these fucking huge waves crashing, and it was just kind of like really romantic with me and my wife. It was a good day. It's a good trip. And we sat down and they brought us our food out, and you can see it. Look at it. It looks nice. And I was like, oh shit. One lady complained, I'm not gonna eat no hell no, I ain't eating no one no that's looking at me. But I took it. I thought the fufu, it looked like mashed potatoes. I love mashed potatoes. And I put that shit in my mouth and it was like, I almost threw that shit back up, man. The fish was nasty. It was fishy. I didn't eat shit. Like my whole trip in Africa, Africans were looking at me like, and we were in a castle eating with some dignitaries, like a mansion. And they got mad at me. They're like, "What's wrong with you? Why are you not eating? Why are you not eating?" My stomach was like the shit fucked my stomach up. We went to this place called Hotel Alisa. It was like some dignitary Mercedes Benz Africans, like some fucking Princess Zamunda shit. For real, no cap. And they had a big breakfast. This is our second day there, big breakfast, and I went there. I was like, "Oh hell yeah!" I went to breakfast, big platters of food, and I saw a goddamn snail on them. I was like, "Man,
Isn't it
no,
interesting?
Yo,
I don't mean to interrupt you, but isn't it
no, you good,
interesting at that some of the fanciest places, some of the wealthiest places have the worst food? I've been in multiple
man,
scenarios like that. It's very interesting.
bro." I do it over again. I get that stomach bug over again 100 times. But the food, something I don't. I think it was a shower. I don't know what it was. I think it was either the fruit. I don't know. Something
It
about the
could
food fucked my
be,
stomach
it
up.
could be brushing your teeth. It could get water could get in your mouth. I mean, it's just endless possibilities.
Whatever it was, Wani, my stomach was fucked up for 3 months. I had diarrhea for three
Did you have a
goddamn months.
parasite, or did the doctor ever diagnose what you had? Did you have to take an antibiotic?
It went away on its own, but it was some type of protozoa or something. But
Thanks everybody
again,
for the food. I did.
What country was this? What country was this?
Ghana, Ghana, West Africa, Ghana, Togo.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
I just wanted to thank the room for putting their favorite foods in there. I have them all on the list, so I haven't missed any of them. I haven't missed any of them.
I said chitlins, but I don't know if you want to put it up there.
Wani, where can I put it at?
No, no, just in the chat. I'll scan down and find it. No, no, no. I'm not gonna put chitlins on there. That's gonna mess up my argument.
Oh
There's
Lord.
no way to
Boudin gumbo.
there's no way to prepare the
What are you talking
chitlins in
about?
a healthy way, Professor.
Oh, BG 900. What's up? BG 9. Oh, he's requested. Okay, I'm gonna see. I'm curious who this Trollamite is. He might be going right
No,
back up. Yeah,
no.
he might be going right back home. Trollamite, what's on your mind?
Is that like Dolomite?
I think that's what it's supposed to be. Trollamite, what's up?
Oh my God. Considering he's this and that, oh, we found out he's got a tether blood. Will you stop?
He was mixed. Well, come
Hold
on,
on.
Queen.
I missed the argument. What? How do we feel about Malcolm X considering what?
He's got a Caribbean. He's got a Caribbean
He's not a
parent.
tether, you fool.
Wait. So explain. I like to be educated. Like, explain.
Again,
He's not.
they're gonna have to watch Tariq Nasheed's show. Like they people jump to conclusions. They don't know the definition of
Right.
tether. Tether is an action. It's not. It doesn't mean that you
Right.
like. Oh man. Okay. Anything else,
There's a
trolling
lot
Mike?
of there's a lot of things that makes him not a tether. First off, he's Black American on one side, and he is American. What's next? He didn't leech off of the community. He contributed to it.
All right, my next question is, how do you guys feel about rap, hip hop?
What about
Considering,
it?
like, I'm now,
No, don't you
I
dare
do say
say
that we as
considering. Now, I know you not about to go crazy.
Considering what? Considering what?
You
now I
invaded.
will say that we did popularize
No,
it
you
as Black
Who is
wait.
Americans,
we?
Whoa,
as
whoa, whoa,
Black
whoa, whoa.
Americans. Listen,
First of all, who's we?
as Black Americans, I would say that we did popularize it. But to be fair, Caribbeans did have a
I removed his ass. Next person.
That's fine. I mean, I'm just saying we created these genres, and that's all I care. I
I
don't care if you.
removed his ass. I wanted to hear. I wanted him to fix his mouth to say it. And he's
Yeah,
find another room, man. Uh, let's see. Capone. I don't know Capone. Y'all know him?
no. I mean, yeah. I'm not denying that Caribbeans are in rap music and anywhere else. They're crawling over us like ants. But they did not create the genre, and that's where they messed themselves up. When they tried to overreach, you know, things didn't work out very well for them. Oh, CC Capone.
Oh, peace to the room. My lovely, lovely, lovely teachers of the evening. Oh man, that master class of schooling. I'm glad I came in on the right time. Sister Wani, love you. Sister Nikki, love you. Professor, my man. Every time I see your bar up there, brother, I be trying to catch you. You know, you be dropping some real game, brother. I appreciate that. I appreciate all the scholars, all the brothers and sisters in the room. But yeah, this delineation needs to happen. Our people need to, continue to get the youngsters on code. Everybody got their part to play in this little situation we got going on because it needs to happen. We need FBA faces in high places nowadays. The Caribbeans coming over, taking the jobs, and you know, going against the grain right now. We don't need no more of that. And it's a lot of power in what we just did. They underestimate our women most of all, but then they woke up the warriors. And I like how this is going right now. So, I'm not gonna be too long-winded, but I just came in here to thank the scholars and I see my people and I'm gonna big up everybody. Let's keep this FBA thing to the forefront of everybody's mind, including the tethers, because this is ours. It was ours first. And yeah, we ain't backstepping no more. We just got a new fight to handle. And I like how, Sister Wani and, the scholars up here, professors, Sister Nikki, I'll be watching y'all. I love y'all. Y'all keep doing what y'all doing. We need to protect y'all at all costs. That's how I see it from where I'm standing right now. When y'all on and I got the youngsters around, I'll be playing all y'all. Jason Black, Professor Black, Tariq especially, because I catch him most of the time. But yeah, every time y'all on dropping jewels, y'all on my line. Just I want to thank y'all and keep up the good work and I'll land right there.
Appreciate you as usual, brother. Appreciate you. We're gonna do. Uh, I think PG 900 got kicked down or something. BG 900, what's on your mind, man? Maybe something's going on with his face.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
I hear you now.
yeah, because my whole it's freezing up.
Hey, BG,
All
what
right.
up?
What's up, man? I don't know what happened earlier. It just kicked me down. But definitely, man. I just wanted to shout y'all out, man. Y'all keep standing on foundational Black American business. I was speaking with some tethers earlier. They were saying something about foundational Black Americans or a cult or whatever, and they couldn't really argue anything. They were just bringing up Tariq, and I'm like, I'm not here to talk about Tariq, but one thing they did say is Black Americans don't have any power, or foundational Black Americans don't have any power. And I just asked them, and they got really mad. I was like, okay, if Black Americans or foundational Black Americans don't have any power, what do Africans have? They got really mad at that. So I think it's about jealousy. I think they are traitors. Anybody who would come from something that raised them and abandoned it completely to come to another place and undermine people in that place, you're a traitor. So you can't be trusted. We know you can't be trusted. They're mad because Black Americans are openly speaking about it now. You're getting them out the huddle. You're running plays. You're winning. So they told us Kamala Harris was going to be the president. She lost. She lost $1 billion in a month. She's not even Black. She's Indian, right? And now the Indians are catching it. Everybody's catching it, right? So all of these immigrants, all of them are tethers. Recently, I've been working with Guatemalans and Haitians at a chicken plant. I was doing some extra work for the holidays to catch a little bread. And the idea that these people work hard that's a joke. They're lazy. They play all night. But hey, if we got to work with them, we got to work with them. But it's no comparison. You're not going to say you work harder than Black Americans. And I just want to end it with this one thing. America has people from all over the world, but the whole world doesn't have Black Americans. And that's why the USA looks how it looks. That's all I wanted to say.
That's a fact, brother. Appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
Love it. Appreciate you. Um, let's see who hasn't talked. Stephanie Dews. I don't know Stephanie. Stephanie, what's on your
I
mind?
do. I know her.
Hey, Stephanie, what's on your mind? I do know Steph. I know the picture. What's going on, Stephanie?
Hey, Professor Allen, I'm gonna side with you on the chitlins part. Okay, sorry, Wani. But my favorite dish, and I should have put it up there, is the cornbread. Like the
Oh yeah.
cornbread. Oh my God, with the hot butter on there. Oh man,
Mm.
I gotta give it that. Since I can't put chitlins on, it, okay,
Oh, you
and
can put it
some
on
French.
there. You might break me down. You guys might break me down.
Thank you. I just want to know, where do these people come off, right? With involving themselves in our politics, okay? Um, Passing policies or trying to get policies written where their descendants can get funding from the state. Because if I can recall, I remember Yvette Clarke doing that some years back, and the bill failed because she wanted to put extra money in the pockets of Caribbean Americans, and it backfired on it because they rejected it. So I don't know what the end game is, what they're trying to do, because now they're running into politics in Fredericksburg. Now we got somebody that's running in that ran for governor in Virginia. I mean, now I heard that they're moving into the South Carolina. So I mean, I don't know what is the end game. And I'll land. Thank you.
Appreciate you, Stephanie. And the end game. The end game, Stephanie. It's a real complicated question you just asked. It's very complicated because you're dealing with forces outside of what the average person understands. You're dealing with sequences and cycles. You're dealing with destiny, and time's up. You can delay destiny, but you can't stop it. And what the system has done is delayed destiny for foundational Black Americans as long as they can, and it's hit a brick wall in the age of Aquarius, and it's just our time. And Dick Gregory used to say it this way. Dick Gregory said, when a woman is 9 months pregnant, all of Napoleon's men could not stop that baby from being born. You can't, the whole army, the Air Force, the Navy can't stop that baby. That baby gonna come out. You know what I'm saying? Can't stop it. And that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with the dawning of a new age. And when one chapter begins, another one ends. And a certain group of people don't want their chapter to end, but that's none of my goddamn problem. Deal with it.
Thank you, Professor.
You welcome, love. Stony Fox, Dan Quay. Let's see. Let's see. Fuck all white. What's up?
What's up, Professor? Hey, I just wanted to say that like you guys really held your own on the stage when that guy was up here trying to discredit Black Americans and their culture. And I don't remember which one of you all made the point that no one else wants to copy anybody else's culture but ours. It's like nobody else's culture is they don't want to copy it. It's like okay, everybody has good things about their culture, but there's no culture that's actively out here being copied, duplicated, repackaged as much as ours. It's just not happening. And I just wanted to go on a point. The guy tried to say like we were like white supremacists. There's never been a time in history where white supremacists have had this type of rhetoric. There never have been a time where any group of people who looked like white people were coming in and trying to play like they were white people. So we cannot sound like white supremacists when we speak this rhetoric. This is a completely novel rhetoric. This is like a I kind of compare it to the civil rights movement because it's like our rights movement. And then one more thing, well, two more things. I wanted to comment on him saying that Black Americans, anything Black Americans made was because we were under
A
white
hand,
colonialism.
a
Um,
white hand. Oh
when
yeah,
when when white people have pretty much colonized the world, there's been points in times where white people have colonized the world, and that's like saying world history or world heritage is white people's heritage because people were all around the world were creating things when white people were occupying their countries. So that doesn't make any sense. But in reality, white people don't have any heritage because they take all of the things that from the company from the countries that they occupy, and they don't have any heritage. Their only heritage really is I'd have to say violence. Um, and you know, if it were up to Japan, there would be no China, there would be no South Koreans, and they all kind of look alike a little bit, but I can tell the difference when I look at. Me personally, I could tell the difference when I look at a Japanese person and a Chinese person. I can tell the difference when I look at a South Korean person and a Chinese or a Japanese person. That's me personally. But if it were up to Japan, Japan was technologically superior and they had a superior fighting force around the time of World War I, World War II. So they were pretty much trying to colonize the entirety of Asia. And if it were up to them, there would be no China, there would be no South Korea. It would just be Japan Major, and everybody would be referred to as the Japanese. So I feel like that's kind of like the thing when it comes down to Africans or and Black Americans, because people try to say, hey, we look like them or but just because we have the same skin color that we're them when in our reality we're not them, and we're not them at all. You can tell that we look different, we have different cultures, we have different tastes. Black Americans don't like soupy food like that. We don't eat with our hands. There just plenty of things that you can tell that we're just not the same people in. And I don't like when in this conversation I don't really get into depth, but there's craniological evidence, muscle mass evidence. We're not even gonna get in. We don't even have to get into DNA. We can just get into the real things, because this DNA, a lot of people try to use it to try to throw us off our game. Let's talk about the real science of the anthropology. When science was first created, what it was created off of. It was created off bone structure, body mass, muscle mass. And when you look at Black Americans and you look at those things, we're completely different people. We are our own structure. And then on the last thing, I want to pick your brain, Professor. You know, I hear you talk about Egyptian lineage a lot. And I feel like not only has our origin story kind of been, rearranged, but I've been looking into African history as well. And they say a lot of their origin stories say that they entered Africa through the northern region, and that pretty much the Bantu migration kind of started out of Egypt when they try to tell them that they started out of West Africa. I've been kind of studying Sheikh Anta Diop, and That's what he's kind of come to the conclusion of, and he traces the African language to have originated many Asiatic languages as well. So I'll just leave you off.
Well. Here goes the thing. We may not have any content connection with Africa, the continent. You have to keep in mind that the all continents were together, and Pangea is one continent.
Right.
Well, there's evidence. There's a lot of suppressed evidence to show that America may have been a colony of Egypt. Far as Egypt is a misnomer. Kemet, to Mary, whatever you want to call it. America may have been the mainland of Kemet. Who
Let me
knows?
piggyback
But
off
I
that
do know.
statement. They have found cocaine and
The
other
mummies.
residues on
Yes,
mummies,
sir.
and they have proven that these were not contamination. Also, they have found rubber in Egypt, and they have found like 600-year-old corn cobs in the tombs of pharaohs. All of these things originated in the Americas.
Yep, and we don't know whether it
For a book, but
I
what kind
can't
of
hear
ran
you.
off. I, I was looking for a
Oh,
book. Again, which is the story of my life. Let me look for a book. Where's the book? I float through books, but there's scholarship, hidden scholarship that shows there was I forget his name, um, an Army lieutenant colonel, white guy, who read a book, um, about hidden treasures that you can't find anymore. And he, on a hunch, this Army lieutenant colonel went, what do you call it? It's a word when you're looking for caves and stuff, Sri Lankan or whatever, in Illinois. And he found a goddamn cave that had Egyptian artifacts in it. And the federal government and rich people hit it up. Hit it. Same thing happened in the Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon has temples named after Egyptian gods and Buddhist deities. Our brother um, Billy Carson wanted to kind of look into this research and hired a pilot. Billy thought he was going to be slick because in certain parts of the Grand Canyon are off limits. Why? Why in the fuck is the Grand Canyon off limits? That makes no sense. Well, Billy said, I'm rich, and hired a helicopter pilot and a small group of anthropologists and archaeologists, friends, and just said, flew to the areas that were restricted. Ha ha, helicopter. Billy said when he landed and got out with his entourage, he got a couple steps where he was met with men in black uniforms with AR-15s. Government. Sorry, Mr. Carson, you can't come here. Can't come here? Why? Man, y'all don't know what the fuck's going on. Ladies and gentlemen, I used to work at the Smithsonian Institution. There's a lot I don't talk about. We live in a big psychological mind fuck. We don't know which way is up. Don't believe what you see. Who are you? That's the real question. Are we Africans? We're mixed with that, I guess. We're similar, but our lineage is different, and everybody knows it. Uh, Danzyland, what's up? Oh, he needs to be brought up. What's up, Danzyland? Is he talking?
no.
Okay, I thought I heard a whisper.
No, I was trying to get away from this loud ass hair. I mean, how y'all doing? Good afternoon.
Hey, brother, what's going on?
Man, I always had a concept of my own since I've been learning about the Quran so many years ago, the pyramids and all, the Olmec and all that. Is everybody
Uh-huh.
really just an algorithm of us? Because
I don't know,
we're
brother.
the
All I can
only
promise.
history. They're trying to throw everybody else's history around, but then when you keep studying, you go to realizing who predates everybody.
Yeah, it's weird, man. It's something fishy going on. Something fishy going on. Some people say, I'm sorry, I just that
Right.
You gonna sleep
there's some
today?
no, I gotta make it to Tariq's stage. uh,
I'll be up the whole
hey,
time.
that's where the shit be popping off. But But yes, there's a book called The Holographic Universe by Michael. God dang it, I can't remember his last name. But a really smart guy wrote that book. He argues that we're in a goddamn hologram right now. This ain't even real. Now, there's a guy named Dannon Brinkley. Very interesting. In the 70s, Dannon was on the telephone. Back in the day, phones used to have landlines. I barely remember that. Dannon was on the phone. Lightning struck the fucking landline, hit him in the temple, sent thousands of volts to his body, fused the metal in his shoe to the metal in the nails on the floor, fucked him up, gave him an out of body experience. He had an NDE, out of body experience, near death experience. And Dannon saw the continuum, the end, like what this was about. And Dannon says, "Damn, I got deja vu." Just holy shit, I just got deja vu. I've said this before. That's weird. I've said this before. Dannon said that he was outside of his body and he saw basically that it's a purpose for what we're doing. But Dannon said something very interesting that science will back up. Those of you who know that know biology know that 90% of a cell is empty. Do y'all know that? So if what's a good analogy? If a cell was as big as the White House, the cell would be the White House, and the inside would have no furniture, it'd be empty as a motherfucker, and the nucleus would be just this tiny ass little bitty penny size or dime size thing in the middle of something the size of the White House. Like the majority of matter is open space. 99.9% of matter is open space. Cells, our body. Now I just told you how empty a cell is, how empty atoms are. Atoms are empty. They're 99.9% empty space. So if you look at that and you quantify everything, given the fact everything's made out of atoms, we're not even here. Like this, there's nothing. You think you're sitting. Let me tell y'all some real shit. I
We
used to
walk
teach
through
physics.
walls, huh?
Physics.
Quantum
Let
physics.
me tell you. Let me tell you some shit. Physics backs up, and y'all fact check me on this if you want. If you shit, you never touch anything. Y'all know that, right? You never touch. You
Perception.
think you're touching your. You're not touching your phone. You're not sitting in a chair. You basically you get to a certain point in the electrons. I forgot what it's called, but the electrons offer resistance. Like it's just you get so close, and the electrons say yeah, and but you never touch it. You think you touch something, but you never touch anything. You just get the perception that you touch stuff. But Danny was talking about science. He said you never really touch anything. You're not really here. 99% of you, given the fact your cells, 99% of you is empty. Given that fact, if you quantify everything, less than substantially less of 1% of everything is even anything. You're not here. This is a hologram. You're somewhere else.
Wow.
Let me piggyback off that too.
And if anybody, it's a couple people in here that, including me, that's had a near death NDE in their out of body experience. I had one on I had one, a real interesting one, and it confirms it. You taken somewhere else. It's almost like that. It's like the movie Avatar. We're really somewhere else. But anyway, who was talking?
Yeah, I was just gonna piggyback when you said that we don't touch anything. I was just gonna say we're essentially blind too, because technically the things that we see we're not really seeing. It's just our brain is pretty much giving us an approximation or of what's happening. It's never 100% accurate. That's why when we see something, it's not guaranteed that somebody else is gonna see the same thing.
The light spectrum, no,
So
no
that
doubt.
that shark bite your arm off. Somebody want to test this?
I can prove that to you. With the shit we're
No, I was
hmm.
just quantum physics. I definitely understand, but I still have to think about who wrote that and who changed it to that. I still have to, I do understand it because I hear it all the time. I got all the books. I had to read it when I was 10 years old, 8 years old. I had to read that stuff. I get it, but like I said, when it's uh, I hear about it,
But you know what I'm saying? But the perception of the man's mind still can write some crazy shit that you'll believe. Look at the Bible. So you know what I mean? No difference from in certain things that they write about when they be high or in out of body experience. You still gotta think about reality.
Yeah. Okay.
Cause y'all have not seen the man fly yet. Until then, I know about an airplane, but I ain't seen a nigga jump and literally fly to another state.
I just wanted to suggest looking into the origins of the Aboriginal Australians, and the way that they say that they originated and where they originated from.
Where do they
Hey,
say?
can I?
You mean other planets?
The snake, the big snake.
That's a warning question.
I want to hear because they have different beliefs, because they have different groups.
They just well, I just give like a brief synopsis and say they believe that like where they came from was like they call it Dreamtime Land or
Mm-hmm.
Dreamland, and
Right.
they kind of say like that
Sleepy time.
there was more kind of like um control over reality like with your thoughts.
Um, but not an origin story, you mean? Not the planets, because they have like some of them say that, they acknowledge that they came from Africa. You can see their migration going out of Africa into Central Asia or Eurasia, and then getting to Southeast Asia, and then making their way down to Australia. It does show that. But they also have another origin story that some aliens dropped them off over there. So I don't know which ones. I don't know which one they're going with.
Oh no, I wasn't talking about
They
that.
call it the rainbow serpent as well.
Yeah, the rainbow
They're,
serpent.
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, but me personally, nah, I feel like it's actually in reverse. I feel like they migrated up through India and around into Africa. And that kind of like coincides with the Cheikh Anta Diop theory because he kind of says that Africa that the African language connects to the Asiatic language. But I'm not gonna go too far into that.
Wait, how could they go from India to Africa? They're in Australia.
Well, I mean, it would be like they kind of migrated up through southern India and through Asia and around, and then came into Africa through the north. That's why when you
Well,
look
why
at
aren't
the
they in Africa?
migration of the Bantu,
Wait,
dark skinned Africans hadn't even reached Nairobi until the 16th century.
okay, why aren't they in Africa? They're in Australia. How did they get there?
How did they get where?
Australia.
I don't know.
Wait, so who are you talking about went through India to Africa?
The Aboriginal Australians, the Andamanese, and the
Okay,
Melanesians.
hold on. But they're in the Andaman Islands in Australia.
Yeah, brother, you might have pull up
Wait
a
a
You
map.
said
minute.
you
You know what
said
you're
they're
talking
in
about.
there.
Yeah,
What do you mean by that?
Australians are in Australia, right?
Yeah, some. Yeah, they are. But it's been a lot of displaced groups. I mean, there were people in Tasmania, and the people in Tasmania don't even really look like the people in Australia. So even though the
That's because
Aboriginals in
They're
Australia,
gone
that's
now,
because the
bro.
water rose and they became isolated. It used to be all one piece. Papua New Guinea, Tasmania, and Australia used to be one landmass. And then when the water rose, it became three land masses. That's why they became isolated.
well,
Y'all think
we
they may
like
have been
like
like
we said, it's a
explorers?
lot of
Whoa, whoa,
questions.
whoa, whoa,
We
wait
don't
a
really
minute.
know our origin
Hold
stories
on.
here.
Hold on. No, we do know that one. That actually happened. I'm not just making up a story. What did you say, Highland?
Yeah, I was saying like the Aboriginals, maybe they were explorers, people from the mainland or from Africa who like traveled and tried
No.
to find
I
new
can
land.
They
see
say they came from Africa, but they can't find any of their DNA in
I can see where they show up in Central Asia because they mix with the Neanderthal and the Denisovan. They have a lot of those.
Oh yeah, I
They have a
remember
lot
it.
of that
Yeah,
DNA, and they did show up again in Southeast Asia, and they do show up obviously in Australia. And we can see if you really follow them, which I did, you can see how they could take a small wooden boat and get there because they skipped islands and they didn't have to go over very you know vast bodies of water. They followed animals, they followed birds that they knew were going to land on land.
from the
Yeah,
storms, no doubt.
they skipped a lot of islands. They didn't have to go up into open waters too much. They can just skim along the islands on the way. So you can see how they could do it.
I agree. I mean, I
And,
just think
it
Professor,
it
you should
wasn't
look into the Check Anta Diop theory.
it wasn't
I
like
mean,
it,
those are their own stories in Africa. They say that they migrated into Africa from the north, and the Europeans try to say that they originated in West Africa. So
I got most of his books.
so these people, these Africans, say themselves that they did not come from West Africa, and it is a proven
wait,
fact
which
that they did
Africans?
not reach.
And hold
Wait,
on, it wasn't North Africa,
hold
South
on, I'm
Africa, wasn't it flipped?
confused. Which Africans say they didn't come from West Africa?
Dark skinned Africans, like the Bantu. They're known as Bantu
Who said
people
they
because
did?
you
They
have
came from the East.
no. They say that they came from the north. They say that
Well,
they came from Egypt.
okay, whatever.
I mean, those are just oral traditions that have been passed down for hundreds of years versus European
Can you
history.
show it?
That's all.
No, it's not European history that I'm talking about because I don't trust their history. I have to use a whole lot of sources because they have a history of lying out of their butts. So I'm just using migration patterns in DNA mostly for what we're talking about right now. So when you say north, we need Mikhail up here. Things can be east, north,
They
northeast.
drew out the migration theory that they have. So I'll put a picture of it in the PIL.
Okay.
I hope he's still not asleep. I hope I got.
No, I think he's awake. Got some new speakers coming up.
And hey, Wani and Professor and Nikki, earlier we were talking about like Egypt and the Grand Canyon. Y'all remember the movie Jumper with Samuel L. Jackson and like the dude was
Don't
teleporting
remember it.
and stuff? For real? Yeah, because
Jumper.
Samuel was the antagonist, the bad guy. Like
Teleporting. Why did I
dude,
miss that?
it's
I
called
like
Jumper.
teleporting.
But they went
Jumper
from
is
France and they
is.
went to the pyramids and Grand Canyon,
Ooh, that
Grand
sounds
Canyon and the
good.
pyramids. Right? It was kind of Easter egg. I mean, because you know how they're connected, but I'm not gonna spoil it for y'all.
Take a
Yeah, it's called Jumper, like
take a
2008.
screenshot of it. Take a screenshot of it and put the info for the movie in the blue pill for me, please, if you
I
don't
got
mind.
you.
Thank you.
It's a great movie. It's awesome, action packed.
Wait, who's speaking? Is that Highland?
Yeah, yeah, that's me.
Okay. Oh yeah. You can send it to me or you can put it in the blue pill. Thank you so much. I love suspense and science fiction. Science fiction has always been one of my favorite types of movies. So I'm just excited just to hear about it. Who in here likes Star Trek?
Ish, me-ish. I get on.
My grandpa always watched that. I was like, I can't
I
get with
get
it,
on a
but we
binge.
kind of
You got to watch it all together. I don't like it sporadically. You got to get into it.
If there was a way to travel the universe, I would go, but I'll be afraid that I couldn't get back and then I'll be stuck in some type of time loop. Hi,
I can't hear you.
well, what were you about to say?
Is your mic?
Are you talking to me or are you talking to
Yes.
Mikhail?
No.
Okay, yeah, I lost
Nikki.
contact.
Nikki.
Nikki, you said you could.
Yeah, my microphone. I said that I want to travel the universe. I've always wanted to travel the universe, but I've always been afraid that I'd be stuck in a time loop.
It's possible.
I'm I'm so embarrassed about that.
No, that's funny. No, 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 no. That's real stuff. It's interesting.
right like the butterfly effect. Hey, you do one thing and
If
everything is
you
messed
step
up.
on a butterfly, Hitler will be in a G
You
string.
break your mama's thigh. Yeah, with some
Jesus
long,
is the
with some
Messiah.
long
What?
faggot. Oh, excuse me, I said a bad word. With some long bussy socks on.
Yep.
If
Fishnet.
you if you
Hi,
step
Mikhail.
if you step on a butterfly, Hitler being a G string.
Yes. We don't actually have to do
Wasn't he?
that though.
Never mind. I thought
He was
he was
in a
already.
G
Come on
string
now,
without
freak
stepping on a
man,
butterfly.
freaky man.
Mikhail, what up, bro?
Now, Mikhail, someone was asserting that Bantu people came from North Africa instead of the traditional belief of East and South. Thoughts?
Okay, that's interesting. Um, First of all, greetings to our illustrious, beautiful, original Black family. Of course, Brother Professor, Queen, Sister Ani, and Nikki, and see who's in the room. The room. Sorry, that's my Philly accent. Stony B, Brother Highland, Queen Sister Asha, the great Brother Arthur, the magnanimous Sister Wilson. See our brother Tahir. Wow, just beautiful. Lot of light. Lot of light. Okay, so uh, what did the brother say?
He felt that we should investigate whether Bantu people came from North Africa instead of the traditional um, belief of it being from East and South. So I said
Okay,
maybe what like Northeast. I don't know. What do you think?
okay. Why did he say? Okay, which brother was that?
Hold on. Where did he go? Um, it's FK around FK F all blank blank fill in the blank.
Is he still in the room
I don't see
on the
him.
stage?
I don't see him. He might have got thrown out.
Mhm. This is the brother who was saying that uh, the melanoids in
Oh,
Australia.
yes.
Yeah, they went around all up, round, sideways, a whole crazy route. That's what he was talking about. Yeah.
Okay, and
You
he
right.
dipped.
Wait. Hold
He
on.
dipped.
Oh, okay. They went through India and then North Africa and then
But they're not
Okay,
there.
out.
They're in Australia. So
okay,
why would they do I don't get it.
okay. So first of all, in terms of the trade route, it wouldn't be logical. It wouldn't be efficient or economic to do that. what I can do quickly is read a few paragraphs or excerpts from our investigations and studies. I'm sort of too tired to just read it off to say it off the rip. Okay, but there was what we would call ANU or Kenanu Ma Kush International Trading Strategy that sort of was a grand and far-reaching plan that sought to establish a dual economy with distant economic sectors and trading colonies in both the eastern and western regions of Kush. So the eastern regions would, of course, be considered what we call the continent. I'm sorry, the western would be considered what we call the continent. Eastern, of course, is anything going towards the Arabian Peninsula and South Asia, Southeast Asia, all the way into the islands, we would call Australia and New Zealand. So this initiative aimed to strategically divide the areas based on factors such as land masses. Wani, you indicated that, levels of development, technological advancement, and unique demand patterns. Now, I'll interject by saying at that particular time, in the Indian Ocean, Wani, you and I, we just discussed this. We did some research on it. That Sri Lanka was the center of gravity of trade in that region. Sri Lanka in that region, to that region, in the so-called Indian Ocean, was what Crete, the island of Crete, which was technically called Pt.3, was to the entire Mediterranean basin, Aegean Sea, uh, Baltic Sea, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So they used these islands. And then, of course, here in East Africa, the Eritrean, what you would call the Eritrean Islands. So what these people did, they surrounded these large land masses by islands, right, so that they could maneuver the waterways very quickly. So this initiative aimed to strategically divide the lands, like we said, based on land masses, land development, technological advancement, and unique demand patterns. In the western part, the trading kingdoms included Keftui, that's the island we call Crete, which encompassed territories such as Libya, the Aegean Islands, and the Mediterranean Sea. Kish, which is the place we call Iran, Iraq, which covered the Levant, the Fertile Crescent, and the Arabian Peninsula, and Kush, which included the Nile Valley and the Red Sea regions of Tasseti, Yam, Punt, Kimanu, and Kemet. So this was sort of this Assyrian industrial complex that they set up. And it's important for us to know this when we decide to do global trade, to understand the ancestral trade routes that were necessary essentially to populate the world or do trade or spread civilization. On the other hand, the Eastern trading colonies comprised Kenanu, Kushan, which is what you would call Turkey or Sumer, et cetera, which extended across South Asia, Southeast Asia, and Central Asia. Right? So this was a strategy that they created to establish a strong economic presence and foster these trade relationships, which, of course, the Mongoloid and the so-called Albinoid co-opted later. So, but they use, to engineer these infrastructure networks, which included their bases. They had bases back then. They had trading hubs. They had ports, harbors, internal roads, bridges, causeways, waterways, canals, lakes, wells, dams, dikes, levees, cargoes, ships, and warships, right? But during this area, they also had elephants, horses, donkeys, and camels, who were domesticated, and they utilized them for transportation and for trade. So naturally, when you're in this southeast, south and southeast region, I mean, as Wani indicated, you're just a boat ride or even a walk across a coastline to these areas you would call Australia, New Zealand. And this is why the Aldermen and those within that particular area of that so-called Indian Ocean, it's recorded that they've been there for at least 200,000 years. And these were so-called the pygmy types, and they are very dark-skinned. So this migration path, the migration of this expansionist group began from the Ethiopian highlands. These are the ones who essentially, uh, you know, pushed this cultural, social, and historical so-called unified Africa and Eurasian trade route all the way into the Americas as well, because from the Mediterranean basin, right, uh, uh, the waterways would take you without even trying right into the Gulf of Mexico, the western side of Florida. And so, and there's also stone tool technology to prove that this was happening as well. So so that's it. That's all I got. And
Thank you.
you're
So
welcome, family.
it's not probable that they would have began in northern Africa, the Bantus, that is.
The Bantus didn't exist in that sense, in the way we know it, until much later,
Mm-hmm.
because they themselves came from the area. Okay, again, the Ethiopian highlands, right? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but they went into the area we would call Uganda and so on and so forth. And the darker ones migrated down what we would call the White Nile into that area of West Africa and so on and so forth. And this is why you would see, if you're in Ethiopia, you'll see Ethiopia is probably the most diverse. Well, not no probably is the most diverse in terms of phenotypical people, right? I mean, there are people that you see on television, and then of course people who you never see. I see them all the time. In fact, I'm always amazed at the level of diversity, in terms of phenotypes, right? But um, you know, these people that we're calling the Bantu, and that, of course, that name didn't exist until what 1600s. They migrated.
Yeah, that's another, confusing issue when you try to bring that up, that these groups really didn't exist.
Right, exactly. Yeah, but the so-called blue, white Nile, but there were many waterways. The whole entire uh, source continent, it was flooded with waterways. I mean, wasn't until fairly recent that it became arid and desert-like, as well as the so-called Arabian Peninsula. So there was a lot of uh, inter transportation or inter traveling through these continents inside through boats and so on and so forth. You know, they weren't
Most
just
of the
walking.
most of the skulls that I saw um, represented as Egyptian people would be considered Nubian number one, which isn't in opposition to um, you know traditional beliefs. Sudanese is another type. And I saw some, you're not going to like this, Somali or Horner type skulls represented in their population.
Right? And then, of course, there's well, and you know this, Wani, the name Nubia is a Roman name, of course. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Sudan Arab, Somali Arab. In fact, Somali means go milk. So they were more or less pastoral um, people But yeah, the first wave of the people you will call Kemet, they came from Kush and Anu, of course, and they were very melanated. And most the Anu, they were short, pygmy type, right? The so-called Kushites, they were taller, right, and more, muscular, thicker, uh, and they would be very similar to the ones you see in Sudan, and of course the very tall ones that you would see in Sudan as well as South Ethiopia, and then the longer neck, light bulb head type, right? It seems like even from the beginning that was the preferred look for the women, right? That the men seem to
Mm-hmm.
choose. During the earlier dynasties, it seemed like the darker, melanated, thicker women, of course, were the prototypical pharaonic um, queens. So but the thinner and still tall, and tall back then could have been like 5'8", 5'9", light bulb head types. They really came into power in what would be considered maybe the 12th dynasty, and that sort of began the fall because most of the kings or the emperors, they would bring in albinoids, or who you would call Arab types from the areas, the newly conquered area called Syria, which was
Mm-hmm.
all Kushite initially, and they would, of course, mate with these women to consolidate, other kingdoms,
Mm-hmm. Yes. To
yeah,
unite other
and
kingdoms.
yeah, and that contributed eventually to the fall of that 6,000-year run that they had. Hmm.
So the contact that I can see for the Bantus is when they began to expand around 3000 BCE. They did have interactions with Egyptians and other groups, and
Hmm.
that's the main connection. They did have um, they
Hmm.
had connections with them. That was a very active area. It had a lot of different people running through there.
Hmm. Hmm. Because I mean, the area you call the Congo, and um, of course, Sudan, which was huge, was where most of those people came from, and the area you will call Mali, right, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Those were particularly Cushites, so to speak. And when the more arid the land became, the closer they migrated to the Nile, or the Nile Valley, right? But with them, of course, they brought whatever recorded knowledge they've had from 3 million years back, and it was the repository of knowledge that came from melanated groups of people globally to that landmass, that Nile Valley region, just as people are coming globally to America. Right, that was the place to go and bring your best ideals, the best and brightest melanoids to that area, and that's why that region was able to grow exponentially. But the ones who we called the Anu, they were constantly, these were the people who dominated the oceans or the waterways. Nu itself means water. And this is in the biblical sense where the word Noah comes from. Even in Ethiopia, they call Noah Nu. In Islam, they call him Nu. right? So when you say Anu, you're talking about the people of the waters, sky, Nu. So they use the skies and the stars to navigate the waterways, right? And these are the people that will bring what we know as the pyramidic civilizations globally, you know, and then of course the trade and the finance and the economics and so on and so forth that goes with sustaining nations. And then eventually those groups of people globally moved into that Nile Valley and brought with them their own version of cultural development. And that's why Egypt, Kemet, was the last, I would say, it was the pinnacle of melanoid, um, advancement globally, you see. And it was all based on enlightenment, even though, they were sourcing commodities and precious metals and services, and they were, bringing all these valuable gifts to, Kemet. Everything was based on enlightenment. It wasn't based around greed and larceny and all the stuff that we see today. That didn't really exist on the highest level until the invasion of the Albanoids across the Mediterranean at the end of the Ice Age.
Thank you.
My
Yeah.
pleasure.
May I ask Brother Mikhail a question?
Yes,
Yes, there.
I
Wait a
Um,
think.
minute. You have to ask Swanee for permission
I
I
answered
first.
mean,
for
that's what I
you.
did. That's what I did. I'm
Go
polite.
ahead, Dan.
That's how I was raised. Um, yeah.
My bad, y'all. I lost the book. I had to find it. Go ahead.
Yeah. So my question is, um, do you believe that um the ancient Kemites migrated to West Africa? Because in all you were saying, I was trying to pay attention and trying to see if you were going to point to that. Because I guess the I guess this conversation kind of started because somebody was surmising that a lot of ethnic groups in West Africa claim to have origins from Northeast Africa, um, or the Nile Valley, or around Uganda, or around Sudan, or around Egypt, whatever country you want to point out to. Um, do you believe that to be true? Do you have any research on that?
Are you
You
talking to me
know,
or Wani?
no, I'm talking to
He's talking to
Mikal,
Mikhail.
Oh,
to
okay.
Brother
Go ahead.
Mikal.
Well, I mean, unless Professor, you would like to answer it, I
No,
can
sir.
answer
No,
it.
no,
But
sir. Go ahead. Go ahead, Mikhail. You know more about this than I do.
no, I don't. We're equally yoked, dear brother. In fact, you may know more than I do.
Well, what I know is that it's from what point in time? Like I don't even know what are you talking about?
Yeah, I'd like to know the time frame,
The time frame of what exactly?
what you
Because
just
okay,
said.
my perspective, because I think we all know kind of different things or have different points of view. So my own is that, sorry, Kemet started out as melanoid, as Brother Mikhail said, and it's over time with the Hyksos and the other invasions that the race started changing, right? But I'm saying, um, we know that around that period of time when the first dynasties were created and stuff like that, there was the Green Sahara like a few millennia before, or a few centuries maybe before even. And my question is, do you believe that there was some kind of connection between the Green Sahara and the first dynasties of Kemet, basically. Do you believe that people
The
from
first
Kemet at that
dynasties?
period of time went into West Africa?
The first dynasties?
Yeah, like
We know the Nox civilization went over there, but that's between 500 BCE and 200 CE. That's
um
not the first dynasties.
I think you know mostly about the Nug civilization, but like there's other
Why do you need
groups.
to yeah, I see this as a theme. You need
What do you
to
mean?
connect West Africa to anything relevant. It can't stand on its own, correct?
I'm actually I actually have no opinion on this. I'm asking what you think
It
about
can't
it.
stand on its own, correct?
Actually, you can.
On what? What's the foundation?
I mean, like I mentioned, there was the Green Sahara. There's a few
What does that have to
excavations,
do with
and
it?
sorry.
What does the terrain have to do with Africa standing on its own and not
No, I'm
connecting itself
saying there
to
was the
Egypt?
Green Sahara, and there was a few civilizations over there.
Name
We
them.
don't really know the extent of what was there at that period of time.
Okay.
So I like asking people about it, basically.
Okay. Should I jump in, Wani?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, dear brother, there's well, the professor and Wani, they asked, and that's a film asked um the, an important question: time frame. Um, we know, and we discussed that you had two main migrational, well, I would say three paths into this area we would call the Nile Valley region. Nile, you know, the, begins, of course, at from the Ethiopian Islands, the Ethiopian Highlands. You have, um, you know, several tributaries, right, that flows into this place called Lake Tana, right? And from Lake Tana, the Nile flows, into an area we call Tissasat, and then it goes back south, and then it goes north, right? And then, of course, you have the White Nile, right? um, mainly in the area you would call Uganda. And even today, you notice that there are, different phenotypes, but in the area we call Uganda, of course, there is a phenotype that we will call, or would be considered um, the origins of those who you would call West Africans today, unquestionably. But they were a different stock, right? So we're talking, I mean, 3 million years ago to 200,000 years ago, right? That window. As you go deeper into the area you call West Africa, right? Um, most of the people there were hunter gatherers. These are facts. There, at that point in time, there was no such thing as complex civilization um, as we know it. The existence of the first model of complex civilization unquestionably would be closer to the region we call the Nile Valley. Now, there were a group of people in that area we call West Africa that were very problematic, and they would be called the Temanu, and those people organize, and those are the darker ones who we would call West Africans, and they organize with another group of people we would call Temanu, Tem. This morning, my brain is slow. Um, it escapes me. But these were the Arab types, And so the Arab types and the West African types, right, were organized in an area we would call Nigeria all the way into what we would call Liberia. And they were the ones who were constantly attacking the ones who were developing complex civilizations. In fact, we talked about these people carrying this ghost DNA that would eventually be the precursor to the ones who would be known as the Neanderthal and the Denisovans. I mean, you had these Cro-Magnon types that merged with these ghost DNA people. So we know they were problematic, and they were, they were there for a very long time, and they were, in fact, the co-conspirators of those who would become known as the Libu, and that's an earlier term for the word Libya. And even to this day, it's populated by the so-called Arab types, and of course, enslaved by, and the Arab types enslaved the West African types to this day. So, so yes and no. I mean, the ones who were in Central Africa, so-called Central Africa, and the ones who came from Uganda area and so on and so forth, and the ones who are in southern Ethiopia, as well as the ones today who are in South Sudan. They would be the ancestors of the ones today who you would call West African. And yes, they, of course, are the founders of Kemet, right? And then you have the other types who are still around today, and even today we call them tethers, who are scamming and doing all kinds of wild, chaotic things, and really making your continent look very bad. They've always been a force of chaos, disorder, and treason. So the answer to your question is yes and no. Did that help?
Can I tag team, Mikhail?
Absolutely.
Let me tag team where Brother Mikhail just left off. According to Chancellor Williams, there was a group of people referred to as Bouchon by Dr. Williams, who were refugees in West Africa. Actually, refugees all over, but particularly in West Africa, from Egypt. They were displaced after Ptolemy Lagi, Alexander, and it's a long story. Actually, it was the Asians. The Asians took refuge in Kemet, and the pharaohs thought it was such a good idea to help them out. Black people stopped helping people, that they gave them women. The black women. The Asians had babies with black women, and in 200 years, a goddamn civil war broke out with children who said, "I'm not black, I'm Asian." Well, Alexander the Great and his uncle Tom, Cletus Nagra, which means Cletus the Black, took that as an opportunity to break into Egypt. You have to understand that every group of people have been studying in Egypt for 10,000 years. However, the Egyptians didn't let them learn all their sacred knowledge. Therefore, Alexander and Cletus exploited that civil war and took Egypt over. After drinking too much, Alexander, as the canon has it, threw a dagger at Cletus. Big mistake, because Cletus had saved his ass so many times, and said something ugly to Cletus. I think he called him the equivalent of a nigger. And Cletus fucking eviscerated him in front of the commanding officers. The third in command, a very weak European named Ptolemy Lagi. He was so weak he needed to be called Savior, took over. Long story short, Ptolemy wreaked havoc on Kemet and just kind of started a genocide and destroyed religion. Anybody who was somebody who, with sacred knowledge ran the fuck away from Egypt, and they ran west. Now, Chancellor, fast forward 1,000 years, Chancellor Williams says, a little over 1,000 years, these groups took up refuge. Some in the mountains of Mali. They're still there. They're known as Dogon. Those were the priest class, very high knowledge class of Kemet. Other elite groups ran to West Africa and took up refuge and as refugee camps. Now, according to Chancellor Williams, the West Africans there who did not have sacred knowledge, who were hunter gatherers basically, were jealous of the Bouchon because they could do things. They could make inventions. Does that sound familiar, ladies and gentlemen? They knew architecture. They just knew how to do stuff, and they were kind of ostracized. However, West Africans left them alone and let them do their thing until word got out to the rest of Europe that these people knew how to do stuff. One thing led to another. The Catholic Church declared black people or African people doomed to servitude under the leadership of the filthy Pope Innocence. I think that's 1402 or something like that. Um, and the Portuguese had orders to kidnap or enslave the Bouchon. There was always an intention to build a new Egypt in the West. We call it the United States of America. So what I'm trying to say is our descendants, our lineage goes back to Egypt. DNA and science proves that. And Dr. Chancellor Williams identifies that um, we were specifically kidnapped. That's how Columbus knew where America was. And, they had the knowledge. Well, to answer your question, who are the Egyptians? That's very complicated. Depends on the time. Um, there was a whole nother epic of time. Now we're in the Holocene. The Mycene. What was the age for Holocene? Wani? Are we in the Holocene? The Mycene. There was a time where just things were flourishing, and it's a different era, a different epic. Now there's very little scholarship on this, but before Egypt even existed, there was a landmass called Atlantis. There were two landmasses. Now, if you need scholarship on this, you need to look up Edgar Casey and Sigmund Freud. Sound familiar? Well, Edgar Casey was a clairvoyant. Had a very talent where he could tap into the unconscious continuum, the everlasting pool of knowledge. And Sigmund Freud found out about him and exploited him. Sigmund Freud put him in a trance and asked him one question: what happened to Atlantis? Edgar Casey said there were two gigantic land masses, one Atlantis, the other um, Lemuria. Atlantis and Lemuria. Rudolf Steiner wrote a book on this. Y'all should check it out if you can find it. Lemuria, these two land masses, these two kingdoms were more technologically advanced than you could imagine. We're talking about floating cities, anti-gravity. Edgar Casey talked of some type of crystal that gave everything powers, not knowledge of crystals, advanced physics, beyond our knowledge of the body, knowledge of the soul, just enlightenment. Well, according to Edgar Casey, um, Atlantis and Lemuria operated in perfect harmony. Atlantis was more technologically savvy, and Lemuria was more earthy, down to earth. Atlantis had weapons, advanced weapons. And likewise with Lemuria, but they operated in peace. Well, and Wani, I keep forgetting to write this down. Hopefully, you remember the name of it. As Edgar Casey said, the Atlanteans were visited by the sons of Belial. That sound about right?
Balau. Yep.
The sons of Belial. Who the fuck are they? I have my theories, ladies and gentlemen.
Does that have any
Ball.
connection with Baal?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Okay.
And the sons of Belial corrupted the Atlanteans. The Atlanteans went on a hunt for land. They wanted to dominate everything. I think the sons of Belial were white men. I think they were. Um, and I think they were not indigenous to this planet
Does
Earth.
it
That's
say
what.
what year?
Oh, Edgar Casey didn't give a year. A long fucking time ago. There's speculation that it was about 1,000 years ago, before the Young Dryas. And let me tell you why I wanted. Um, I almost can tell you the exactly how long ago. It was 11,000 something before the last ice age, and I'm gonna tell you why that's very fascinating. The sons of Belial corrupted The Atlanteans started dominating. A very peaceful people turned dominant, start dominating the world. They attempted to dominate Lemuria. The Lemurians of Mu told them to leave us alone. Please leave us alone. They disobeyed. A war broke out. Now, according to Casey's tap into the collective unconscious continuum, there was a war with technology, weapons that we can't imagine, larger scale than nuclear weapons. Well, whatever these weapons were, they were so powerful that um, they're rumored to have triggered the young Adrias. Isn't that interesting? So it's said that the young Adrias, the archaeologists and geologists say the young Adrias was triggered. The biggest theory everybody knows it is a meteor, like a gigantic meteor over a mile long across, entered Earth's gravity and broke into a multitude of quarter mile pieces and struck the Earth all over. Sounds real nice, right? Well, according to Edgar Casey, that was not a fucking meteor. That was advanced weaponry. The Atlanteans and Lemurians blew the world up. They struck planet Earth so hard that she went into an ice age called the Young Adrias. Um, and okay, so after the smoke cleared, there was a group of 12. I mean, that's not 12, 7, called the Seven Sages. You're familiar with Seven Sages, right, Mikhail? I've heard you talk about the Emerald Tablets.
Yeah, we don't we don't describe them as the seven sages. In fact,
Okay.
well, go ahead and finish your build, and I'll build with you.
Well, when the smoke cleared, there were seven seven Atlanteans left, like seven high ranking people, and they came together and had a consensus on we need to rebuild the world, and they went their separate ways. Um, One of them that made it to what we call Egypt was Thoth the Atlantean, and Thoth is responsible for the building of the pyramids, and whoever Jesus the Christ was, whatever his real name was, is what I'm saying. There is some speculation that that's where he learned the miracles was in the from Thoth the Atlantean. I found Thoth's
Okay, so
Right.
you're speaking of Yehuti, right? Who the
Yehudi,
Greeks
yeah,
call yeah,
Tahuti, Thoth,
yeah,
Tahuti.
Yehuti, who the Greeks call thought, and this is actually where the word
Well,
or the term.
I hate to interrupt you, but I want to clarify this. I thought the Greeks called him Hermes.
No, they called him thought, and Hermes came later as a result of the ones today who you would call the people of the Cabal once they co-opted that area. So Hermes Trismegistus was the
Hmm.
actual full name, right? But thought was the original name from the Greeks, but the correct name is Yehuti, right? And the area you're talking about is Keftu, and the area you call Lemur is what we would call Sri Lanka, and the seven represents what they will call the seven continents, right? And of
Hmm.
course, Yehuti was uh, Anu, and and that's and it talks of it in the Emerald Tablets how yes what happened essentially there was a tidal wave that was triggered as a result of a volcanic eruption off the coast of Sicily, right? Was Mount I forget the name, Mount someone help me, someone Google that, but that is what triggered this great tsunami. Whether it reached all the way to this area we call Sri Lanka is questionable, but that was really the jump off, and that's when sort of Yehudi had to dip, and of course other emissaries of Anu moved globally, and and this is what we will call the beginning, really, of complex civilization, which included, as you indicated, laser technology and the mapping of the constellations and so on and so forth, which was already done, but it was a sort of a global spread of a certain civilization. But I just wanted to, Wani, if you can look in your DM, I
Yes,
gave
I
you an
posted it.
illustration.
I
Right.
posted it.
Okay. So, what's that?
Was it Mount Etna?
No,
Yeah,
I put it
precisely.
in the
That's what it
chat.
was.
Okay, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you there, brother. Mount Etna. Who's that, brother Highland?
Yes.
Is there?
He's always on point. Yes. Mount Etna. That was the jump off. And that's recorded at about 6,000, what we would call 6,000 BCE. And this is where, the albinoids, where they date, their so-called beginning of the world and all this other the jump off, so it's based on that volcanic eruption that really affected them more than it affected the people of the black grass at that particular time. It was called the black grasslands,
And they had
what you call
another
Africa.
terrible tsunami in that area, remember?
A
2004.
few thousand years after that, right?
No, I
Exactly.
mean 2004, right?
Yeah, a few thousand
Remember?
years after that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that area was
2000. Yeah.
really dramatic over there.
And that came from the island of, I believe, Thera, something like that. But that eruption on Mount Etna was really the jump off for what we call European history. They used that.
Yeah,
Um,
that's in connection with Typhoon and Zeus and the
right,
Titanomachy, right?
right,
No,
right. So,
Okay.
so our dear West African brother. So, our sister Wani posted a picture in the jumbotron. Those are your ancestors organizing with the so-called Arabs. So you have the Temahu and the Tem Anu.
no,
And
I didn't put it up there yet. I put it in
oh,
the
could you
chat.
could you place it in the
I can. I just want
you
in the
can
Jumbotron, there's notifications that Black Americans get showing their haplogroups and their relationship to Pharaoh Ramses III and the Amarna
oh
mummies. Now I'm going to put
okay,
the other ones up there right now.
okay, thanks, Juan. So that is an image of those ones that carried that ghost DNA, the ones who I said are problematic. And the people of Kemet and Kush uh, created an illustration of them coming from the region we would call Laibu, right? Organized to create war and problems, right? So there's evidence right there of what was happening. You see
Can
them.
you see it?
Um,
Did it pop up yet?
let's see. Yeah, not that one. I gave you. I think I gave you a better one.
Oh, it's not the 2 pages.
Uh. Nope. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
That's all
That's
I
fine.
have.
Yeah. It was actually just the one on the right, but yeah, it's cool. Let me see. No, just use the one on the right. It's better.
Okay.
Yeah, the one on the right is better. But that's evidence, clear evidence that the ones who sold us into slavery was kicking up dust and creating a lot of problems and chaos even back then. And that was uh, around 3000 BCE. And those would be the ones we would call West African, Nigerians, Ghana, et cetera, et cetera. They were the ones that worked with the Arabs, worked with the sea people, the people we would call Yamnaya, the Kaz, or the Hikakasut. You mentioned the Hyksos. The correct name is the Hikakasut, to overthrow the melanated lands. And they still work with them today. So,
You know that they're a problem because what people made a U-turn? I mean, they went west, 3000 BCE, and then made a U-turn 1000 BCE after probably getting sold and chased around to be sold. Then they started irritating Khoisan and uh, Pygmy Batwa and other groups, other indigenous groups, and telling them that they needed to be into farming and not hunting and gathering and the whatever the activities they were doing, they were against it, creating havoc in these people's homelands. So
right. Yeah,
they
because,
are chaos agents.
oh, yeah, because it seems the source plan was, of course, to have light and anti light, whether they were in the form of these humanoids or they were in the mammal forms or they were in other forms on other dimensions that we can't see. But there was always the balance, light and anti light. And these particular people represented anti light. And they are the fathers, mothers and fathers of the Denisovans and the Cro-Magnons. Well, I'm sorry, the Denisovans and the Neanderthals, who were melanated and eventually became what we know as today as the albinoids. That still gives us problems. So that that force is by design, but I believe, and this is my belief, that they were sent here to be a test for us. A test. That's all they are. It's just a test. We managed them when we had this knowledge of enlightenment that our brother, our great professor, is speaking of. But once that was taken from us, we were reduced to the level they were: chaotic, disruptive, disoriented, and following the newly created mutants or the last mutants of the planet, which now we call the albinoids. You see. So, but that's evidence and proof right there that they were a problem, big problem.
Okay, so just so okay, thank you for that. Just so I'm sure of what you're saying that West Africans are descendants of the Tebehu tribe. Is that what you're saying? Tribes, plural.
I'm sorry, dear brother. What was your question?
I'm saying what you're telling me right now is that West Africans, people like me, right, are descendants of Temehu tribes that you put on the Jumbotron. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, but I'm also saying that phenotype, or those who carry the phenotype, are also the descendants of the ones who came from the Ethiopian highlands, traveled, that would be west to what you would call the area of Uganda, right? Traveled down that White Nile. That group of people, along with the people of southern Ethiopia, along with the people of today of South Sudan, the DRC, or the Congo area, that area proper would be considered the people of Kush, that were the founders they were the founders of Kemet, the earlier dynasty, right? And they were uh, uh, given enlightenment by the people who we call Anu, who came from the Ethiopian highlands, specifically in an area that's called Bahir Dar. That's sort of where the Blue Nile meets the Blue Nile Falls. It's called Tissasat. and in that area. And it's interesting because as we were researching and doing what we do, I noticed, and I'll send you, and Wani, I've shown you the three pyramids that are identical, and these three mounds that are identical to the three pyramids of Giza, literally identical, right? And the people themselves had noticed that. And so we took a picture of the backdrop of those three pyramids with uh, the blue Nile. In Ethiopia, they call it Tisabai, in front. And I would ask people, and you see a little brother in his little boat, and I'll ask people, where do you think this is? And 100% of the time they say Egypt, because they see the three mounds that you see that's representative of Giza, and I mean, and the Nile and the kid. So we showed them something they hadn't noticed, not even the government knew. So you have two types of melanoids. You have the ones who are light and the ones who represent anti-light. And the ones who represent anti-light, then they still represent anti-light today. And the ones who represent light, they still represent light today. That's the point, our brother, our West African brother. You get it?
Yeah, I get it. Thanks. Uh,
Much better.
would you say that as a West
Dan,
African, I'm
you're not
closer
on the
to?
phone.
Sorry,
Oh, look. I thought you guys had all the roots that we needed to attach to.
I don't know why. I don't know why you do this thing. Like you make me defend points that I never mentioned myself. But
You
yeah, I'm just
did.
interested in knowing like points of view at this point in time. Like I'm not trying to even
Okay.
say what I think personally. But
Well, you do know that Wani's going to smack you around, regardless of the enlightenment
nah,
that you
Wani
get.
likes me. Wani likes me. She
Okay.
can't pretend.
Okay. What was your question?
Yeah. Would you say that you would consider, because you said that Cro-Magnons and Europeans ultimately descend from West Africans or the
No,
Tibehu tribes?
the
Mhm.
Cro-Magnon types descend
Uh-huh.
from the Ethiopian highlands by way of the White Nile, because
Uh-huh.
they went west, further west, and then of course down what we would call the White Nile. Now, remember, even back then, and this is recorded. The White Nile crossed or merged with the Blue Nile at Khartoum, and that would take you, of course, into Kemet and the Mediterranean. But at that time, also, there was another intersection that didn't cross into Khartoum, but kept straight into what the area you would call Liberia. I'm sorry, Libya, and into the Mediterranean. And so that was the path that the Cro-Magnons took to connect with the people who carry the ghost DNA. And those people took that path, that waterway, into the area you would call Libya, and then, of course, into the Mediterranean and across the Mediterranean into what we would call today Europe. Hmm.
So you would say that West Africans are closer to white people than they are to Black Americans.
No, no,
Can you
no,
explain that?
because, well, West Africans aren't known for necessarily carrying the A haplogroup, which whites scientifically describe as the Adam haplogroup. We call it the ATUM or the ATOM, the first haplogroup, the oldest, right? Most carry either the E1B1A or the R haplogroup, which you find in many of the albinoids, or the J or M that you will find in many of the ones you will call Asians. We typically carry the A or the E, and then of course because of our ethnogenesis, we carry some of the European as well. So we are a new um, ethnic group, but the closest people to us, uh, I mean, in a crazy way, I've seen literally, in Ethiopia and also in Eritrea, right? People who are identical. I've seen kids in Eritrea, and there's a picture or a group of people in an area called Kashanga, right? Wani, if you Google Kashanga, right, is in Ethiopia. Those kids look just like our kids. I mean, identical, literally identical, right? And then there's another group of people who would resemble us as well. They're very copper tone, very thin. They did the feather things, the hawks, the falcons, and those would be the people we call Keftui, and those would be the people who migrated from the island empire of Manoa or Crete into the Americas, and the Alpinoids today call those people the Atlanteans. And if you look at their artwork, not only their artwork, but the artwork that was created in Kemet, showing them, they look identical to us as well. So there's two similar, from what I've seen, haplogroups that, or phenotypes that resemble us most. The people in an area called Kashanga, that's in Ethiopia, Kush Shanga, and the Keftui people. Both of those people came from the Ethiopian highlands.
Okay. Is there? I think that's my last question, by the way. This was a good
Now,
conversation.
the people who were called Keftui, they were the island dwellers, but the people who are called Kashanga, I'm very sure they are the descendants of the very short, sort of Twa-like people, but they both would carry the oldest haplogroup. The Keftui would more than likely carry the E1B1, and of course the Kashanga would carry the A as well as the E haplogroup. But that's why we're different. We process things differently. We see the world differently. We respond to frequencies, sound different. We hear different. We interpret things from our heart first. We have a small brain in our heart, right, that we listen to, and then we rationalize it in our heads. And we have a very highly developed limbic system that allows us to move a certain way, to process information and music differently. When we hear music, it makes if we hear thumping of a low frequency of bass or drum, our head bounces forward, boom, boom. I don't see Africans doing that. And it's moving our limbic system, or what you would even call the pineal gland, which is connected to our neural system, which makes us twitch. While our head is moving forward, our nervous system is twitching in such a way where it's so synchronized, right, with the movement of our heads, right? And then it hits our heart, right? The brain, that feeling inside our hearts. And when we open our mouths, a sound comes out that is like the sound of the gods that you can't find anywhere on this planet. We're very different. It's almost as if we are prototypical people, and that's just an observation. Not saying we're better, I'm just saying we're different.
Totally different.
And people are mad about that. Mr. X, I'm sorry we had you guys waiting. We were having a long conversation. Mr. X, would you like to contribute?
Peace, peace. I just had a couple questions, and I'm just grateful to be in this space, bro. So
Y'all don't even worry about it. I appreciate y'all. I wanted to say I just got the book.
Did you have a question about Egypt?
Yes, yes, yes. I was gonna say I just got the book by Chancellor Williams. I was gonna ask two questions.
Hello?
Uh, can you hear me?
Yeah, Wani, he's talking. I think
I
you might
can.
not hear him.
Yes,
Oh,
we can hear you.
what
Hello.
happened?
Okay.
Okay, I just won't talk.
I just had two questions. The first question is, what would be a good book or a good resource to learn about the like the migrations and about these earlier migrations of these tribes that you were talking about, Brother Mikhail? And the second question I had is about ancient Egypt. Is when they look at the DNA of the mummies, I'm trying to see like how do you explain like the R1B like with King Tut and like the the J haplogroups and the haplogroups in India. I was wondering if you could like kind of explain that DNA part to me, and kind of put it in context with history. I don't really have a good one, but I would love
Okay,
to
sure.
he-
Okay, thank
uh
you for the question, brother. Awesome. So I'll explain it to Wani, and I'm sure our brother Professor heard, and then I'll build on theirs. Wani,
Hmm?
all right. So the brother asked the question: why are the haplogroups R and J found in some mummies that are dug up? And
Hmm.
of course, I know the answer, but um, I guess you and the professor can expound on that, and then
I'm just
go.
I, I
You can talk about that, but like I posted in the Jumbotron, we do share a haplogroup with the Pharaoh Ramses and these Amarna mummies. Like I said, Egypt had a lot of diversity. They had invasions. They had a lot of different things going on. They took different wives from different backgrounds, I don't have an answer as to why someone has a particular haplogroup there. Just like I can't explain why Black Americans have haplogroups A, B, C, D, Q, O, M, H, J, and this E1, B1A. We have a lot. We like our men have 40% of our men have a R haplogroup. So, I mean.